Don't be acting so cool like you that wine. You fine, yeah, you fine. And yeah, I know that your shit tight. Damn right. But don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine. Poolside, late night. I know you're shining up moonlight. Damn right. I wanna know what you look like. Late night. I'm trying to see what you taste like. Taste like. Damn right. Let a nigga holla at you, right? Show you some find the things in life. You know I'ma do your fucking right.
Yeah. I wanna get down with your hello girl. Little birdie told me you a bad little girl. Expensive taste, fine wine and pearls. But you best believe I'm finna rock that world. Skinny nigga from the west side. Couple bitches by the beach side. Blunt lit by the moonlight. Finna give it to you all night. Yeah.
So we play fight. We don't rest till the daytime. Playtime. Shorty on that drain, attitude on real stain. He take it to the bank, he don't give you what you like. I know what you like, I know you can write like bite. You fuck with me, fuck the hype, give it to you like it's mine, yeah.
And we both like designers. Best friend, go reminder. Lost your mind on the island.
Where's up?
Did you ever go find her?
Okay.
Ever had a nigga shoot straight?
That's me.
Did you own this new slate?
Yeah, wrong,
Little baby on a new way.
Okay.
Sipping wine with the Kool-Aid.
Let's get it.
You fine, yeah, you fine. And yeah, I know that your shit tight. Damn right. But don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine. You fine, yeah, you fine. And yeah, I know that your shit tight. Damn right. But don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine.
Hey, this is Colin Crandall from the MMA Power Hour, brought to you by iFluxy Studios. The MMA Power Hour is a show produced by fighters, coaches, and fans of our sport of mixed martial arts, so it is dedicated to anyone out there involved. We have top contenders as well as world champions. We have legends and Hall of Famers in our sport. They're talking about themselves, how they got to where they are, who they are, what they're about, what projects they're involved in, as well as predicting huge upcoming MMA fights and a lot more. Let's get ready to feel the power. MMA Power Hour brought to you by iFluxy Studios. and welcome to the MMA Power Hour. So glad you guys could join us. We have a great show here, and by the way, this is the last show of our very first season, so we're finishing strong. Let's jump into it right now. I'm really excited to have this first guest. I've been a fan of his for so many years. He is one of the most respected on-air personalities, reporters, and play-by-play commentators, having been with Inside the MMA for 9 years and doing play-by-play for Lion Fight, for LFA, and other amazing organizations. We are talking about none other than Mr. Ron Kruck. Welcome to the show, Ron.
Colin, really appreciate it. The kind words, that was over the top, but I'll take it, buddy. You know, glad to be a part of the MMA Power Hour.
Thank you. We're really glad to have you. You know, my girlfriend was excited to have you on because she at first didn't like MMA that much that I forced her to like it, and then she was like, "Oh, this is cool." She loved watching you and Kenny and Bas, and then even more over the last season. And I told her, "Hey, Ron Kruck is on the show." She said, "Oh, that's awesome." You know, and so I'm really happy, man. To have you on after watching you so often. And you know, one thing I noticed about you is you were so relaxed and natural on camera. Did that come easy? Did you have all kinds of years of experience before Inside the MMA? Let us know a little bit about the backstory and how you're so relaxed and natural and great on camera.
Sure. Well, number one, tell your girlfriend the check's in the mail, so we'll hook her up. And
awesome.
You know, Colin, it's a long time coming. You know, I went the journalism route. I went to school at the University of Colorado and got my degree in broadcast news journalism. And, you know, truthfully, bud, if you would have asked me a decade ago if I'd be covering mixed martial arts and the UFC and everything and making a good living out of it, I probably would have thought you were crazy. So it was never really my intent to get into covering MMA. I was always into mainstream sports. I was covering college football for a little while. Here in Denver, where I'm based, I was covering the Nuggets and the Avalanche, and kind of jack of all trades, sort of what I'm doing with MMA now. And it was really back in 2004 when Mark Cuban started HDNet. He started a little bit earlier. I came on board, and Mark was the visionary of, hey, let's do high definition television, 24 hours, all original. And we did a lot of sports back then. We were covering Major League Soccer, the NHL, boxing is where I got in, was doing some ring reporting. And then 2004, Reed Harris of the WEC approached Cuban and wanted him to broadcast MMA. And I remember it vividly that my executive producer, Daryl Ewald, came to me as I was doing boxing and said, "Do you know anything about cage fighting?" And I said, "Well, you mean the UFC?" He's like, No, it's different. It's cage fighting.
Oh,
Said, Daryl, that's the exact same thing, but that's where they started. They had no idea about this sport. We started doing the WEC in 2004, live events. Zuffa bought them up in 2007. We started doing other organizations live, and that's when Cuban's vision of a sports center for MMA came about, and I was just really blessed to be a part of a great team with Bas and Kenny, of course, and then later on Morrow as well. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, it takes some time, for sure. I look back at some of my early stuff and I cringe a little bit. Right. So I'm always learning. That's for sure.
That's important. And so when you were first doing the reporting for the World Extreme Cage Fighting, and I remember that well with the great blue cage floor. And yeah, remember? And then I forgot what channel it was on at first, but I remember when it became WEC on Versus. Remember that Versus channel, which I don't think is around anymore. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah. The UFC bought them up from us. Our contract after I think 3 years ended, and so when Zuffa purchased the WEC and absorbed them, they had that deal with Versus. You're exactly right, and they were on there for a couple of years, before the UFC just merged the two organizations.
Right. And was it an easy sell for you to be working in covering mixed martial arts? Had you had any interest or experience yourself in any sort of combat sports prior to that?
A great question. At first, I did cover some boxing. I was always a big boxing fan growing up. I was very fortunate to have a good buddy, Burt Williams. His dad, Joe Williams, has a radio show here in Denver that used to get all the pay-per-views. I'm talking Hagler, Hearns,
Yep.
Sugar Ray, all those. So that's where my interest started. And then it's funny, UFC #1. I was in college at CU, and we were ready to go down. We had heard about this. They were doing a lot of promotion on the radio, and we were pooling our money to go down and see UFC 1, and a snowstorm blew into Boulder.
Oh.
Ended up pooling our money for the pay-per-view and then probably a couple kegs as well. And we decided to just chill out and watch UFC 1. And truthfully, that's what really pulled me in. I became a fan pretty quickly, seeing Royce Gracie do what he did. But it was working with great people that were just so supportive in those early days. We just talked about it, Colin, off air. Steve Quadros was part of that WEC team. Jeff Blatnick, of course.
God bless him. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. God bless him. We miss him so much, who helped really push the sport into mainstream. And then Ryan Bennett was the play-by-play man. I was the ring reporter, and it was a great run. And it was working with those talented people and getting to know, I think it was really getting to know the fighters and doing those features that I did for not only the live WEC broadcast, but that evolved into Inside MMA. Telling the stories of these athletes is still one of my favorite things that I ever did in journalism and MMA.
Yeah, and I am with you on that 100%. As my viewers know, that's really what we're doing. And because I know there are other shows out there. I mean, the biggest probably are Joe Rogan's show, which isn't totally MMA related, but a lot. And then Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour. And I can't rip on them at all. They're huge shows, and they're doing great. The one thing I've noticed is that a lot of times, the interviews are a lot of opinions about something currently going on that the guests are commenting on, and not so much kind of like a backstory and a real interview in detail with the fighters and the people in our industry. And I said to myself, you know what, man, I think a lot of people would like to really know who our MMA fighters and our MMA commentators and referees and coaches are, and I'm not seeing it really being done that much, except for kind of on the Inside MMA, where you guys really did go in there and do that. So that was my idea kind of for this show. And when your show went off, I missed it so much, and there wasn't a direct correlation then, because you guys have been off for about a year now. Am I right? How long since that last
October
episode?
Will be a year.
Right. And whereas I just started in March of this year, so there was about a 5-month gap. But, funny enough, I just realized that I was missing my fix of really getting to see some great interviews of MMA people. And when the opportunity presented itself to me, and I had been encouraged to do it for years, just funny enough, the timing was never right. But finally, MMA Inside the MMA was gone, and I said, darn it, I'm going to jump in there and do some great interviews because I want to see some. And if I have to do them to see them, then that's great. You know what I mean?
I like it. You took matters into your own hands, Colin. That's what we need. We need go-getters like you. Again, I truly appreciate the kind words about Inside MMA. It was a hell of a run, man. I mean, 9 years on TV is an eternity, as you well know. I mean, who does that?
No, it's hardly ever.
Not many other people can say that they did that. So it was an incredible run. It was a great chapter, and just going from the early days in Burbank where Kenny and Bas would have the 3 guests on, and more of the interview format, and I would go and cover, do the feature stories. And even back in the early days when the UFC didn't credential us because of issues between with my boss Mark Cuban and Dana White, and us doing our own promotion back in the day, HDNet Fights. We had to. It was an interesting time. We had to fight for everything, but again, telling the stories of who these guys were, the fighters were, not just these barroom brawlers, you know, that have no talent and they're not intelligent. Being able to show those different sides was what my passion was. I mean, one of my favorite stories early on was covering Shane Carwin, who happens to be a Colorado guy,
right,
so maybe a little biased. But, you know, what I loved about Shane, people didn't realize he was a mechanical engineer, worked for the water department up in Greeley, Colorado, and he never quit his day job. Even when he was fighting Lesnar for the interim title. I mean, he never quit his day job. And it was just fascinating to me to be at that level and still, you know, working almost a desk job. But those stories are truly what I miss.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that segment. And I always was a big fan of Carwin. I really wished he had been able to go just push it a little bit more and beat Brock. Now, I mean, in retrospect, not to slam Brock, but in retrospect, who knows what was in Brock's system in that fight way back then, right? When there was, you know what I mean?
Another hour for that.
You're right, exactly. But I just think Shane Carwin was amazing. Such a humble guy, an amazingly strong athlete. And I remember they said the gloves he wears, his hands were like 40% bigger than Brock's even. You know, it's just the biggest hands.
Yeah, his coach at the time, Trevor Whitman from Grudge, had to create his own gloves.
Wow.
What's interesting is here we are almost 10 years later, and he's going into that business. He learned from helping Shane out. He's going into the glove-making business. So, you know, some things come full circle.
That is really true. Trevor Whitman's an interesting guy. Have you ever noticed that every time he's in a corner, and he's usually up over the top of the octagon, he has that amazing big smile on his face. Have you ever noticed that? What's that about? You know him better than me.
And it's not just when he's in the corner.
Is it?
It's when he's in the gym. It's when he's on our show. It's when he's out doing, you know, what we do on a day-to-day basis. He is one of the good people in mixed martial arts and just a great human being.
That's cool. And Grudge, is he's the top guy at Grudge, or is it a combination of a couple folks?
Well, he used to be. You know, I remember back in the day, Grudge was as much of a super gym as Jackson's was. You know, Rashad Evans would come out here, George St. Pierre, of course, Carwin, Nate Marquardt, all these guys. And it seems that, you know, besides Jackson's, a lot of these gyms, they go through the ups and downs. People come in, they leave. But he still works with a handful of fighters. You know, right now, Justin Gaethje is probably the top one that he's working with, and Marquardt, they go back a decade, 2 decades probably. So, yeah, he's still involved, just not as much as he was with the gym on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely, and I talked over you for a second there, but I love Gaethje. I was shouting out Gaethje for the last probably 4 months, even 5, ever since the show started. I loved in WSOF. You know, no one knew for sure, but I had a feeling his skills would translate. Because he's a Colorado guy, were you cheering for him at all, or you weren't that knowledgeable, or you didn't care one or the other?
Well, objectively.
Yeah, right. That's true.
Of course I was. Yeah. You know, I was with you. I've known him a long time, and it was great to see him get that chance and shine and do what he always does, put on a full-blown stand-up war, and then get his hand raised was pretty cool. And I know you wanted to talk about some funny stories, so I don't know if you want to transition into that yet, but I got a good one about Gaethje for you.
For sure. You know, let me see. I want to do whatever you want to do, but I always like, if there are funny stories, to finish with that. I tell you what, keep that in mind, and within about 5 minutes, let's get to that. Okay, so let me tell you one thing and ask one thing. One of my favorite, and not to make this all about Inside MMA, because we don't want to always look back, even though I know it was a great time for you, but since I'm such a big fan, one of my favorite interviews was when Mark Cuban himself was on there. I think it was one of the few times, or maybe he was on once. Remember, it was when there was 3 guests. It was him, Jason Mayhem Miller, and who the heck was the 3rd guest? Do you remember?
Joe Rogan was the 3rd guest.
That's right. Yeah. And I think that Cuban must have said, "Don't worry about holding back whatever colorful language you want" on that episode, if you remember. But I forget it was crazy. That was one of the craziest. You know,
the precedence that night when he came in and said, I believe Kenny set him up as our boss at HDNet at the time, and then founder. And he looked at Bas and Kenny, said, "Am I really paying you MFers?"
Right, yeah.
And everyone just sat there and said, "Did he just say that?"
Yep. And
Oh,
then,
yes, he did.
Yep.
And then they all just exploded laughing.
Yep.
And that was just where else can you get Cuban Joe Rogan and Mayhem Miller together?
It was
and
great.
then at Bas and Kenny, I mean, it's a gong show waiting to happen. And
It was amazing.
one of our favorite shows of all time.
Yeah, and I'm glad because that was one of mine. And that had to be probably 2008 or 9 or something like that.
Early shows, yeah. I think it was our first year he came on.
Yeah, and can I ask why was the format changed from when they had the 3 guests on the podium? Because the show remained great. I love the show anyway, but there was something kind of cool I thought about having the 3 guests in the podium kind of kiddie corner to Kenny and Bas, or you and Bas or Kenny. Was that deliberate, or was there any mutual thought to do that, or what was the thinking? Could I ask?
Yeah, I think, Colin, it was the evolution of the show. I think the 3 guests panel and that format ran its course. I think early on, a good 3 or 4 years, it was unique television. It was different, and it was when you had guys like Cuban. We had Ray Romano on. We had Kevin James on. When we were getting all these big name guys, I mean, it was great TV. And then you put them in with some fighters and trainers and referees, and it was just an interesting dynamic. But I think as time went on, Mark wanted it to be more of a sports center. And once the UFC started credentialing us, and I could go out and cover the UFC events, do interviews, do stand-ups, and recap the show. We went from a Thursday, Friday show early on to Mondays, because we were very unique in Fox didn't have a post-fight show. Fox didn't have any of that.
That's right.
You would have to wait really to see the highlights and get the interviews on television for sure, because ESPN wasn't doing it, to our show on Mondays.
That's right.
So it was really an evolution of, hey, let's get more of a sports center. And then truthfully, once Fox has had their deal and they started doing the instant reaction and the desk show that they do post-fight, we went back to Friday nights and became a pre-fight show and started to at least preview the fights instead of be the recap show. So, 9 years is a long time. You have to evolve. You have to change. And I will say this, too. Towards the end, I know Kenny was getting frustrated. There'd be times where, you probably run into this, but a lot of these fighters, they want to take a break from the sport.
Yeah.
And get somebody on and you say, okay, guys, what'd you think of UFC, 85 last week? And everyone's just looking at the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't really watch it, or they're not really just drained or kind of overwhelmed with it, right?
Yeah, you need a break. So I think it was a fun format, but I just think it ran its course.
That makes sense. And I always loved the Bazies, man. That was always the greatest here. The Bazies. And how many different bobbleheads or dolls did they have with Bas?
I'm looking for one in my office. I think my kid's got it in his room. He keeps it in his room. Yeah, we went through. It was new every year.
Yeah.
It was new bobblehead, and then it evolved to just a trophy and. But that was always fun, too. We had some great times with the Bazzi shows.
Yeah, and it seemed like you guys all got along really well. And I guess if you didn't, you might not want to say, but honestly, it really seemed like, it had to be, because you guys just, reacted so well off each other and just seemed to really be able to get where you were coming from, and no one was really interrupting anyone or trying to hog the spotlight. Am I right? You guys really got along well, it seems.
We certainly did. I mean, the chemistry you saw on camera was real. Kenny Rice is one of my best friends to this day. He's a mentor. Bas is the most genuine person you will ever met. What you see in the Kevin James movies and on TV and what you see on Inside MMA and is the exact same person in real life. We had a great chemistry, and then getting to know Morrow through the years. he was always fun. We were like me and Morrow, when we were covering the UFC together, we were like the two high school kids who got in trouble in class during the press conferences because we were like always screwing around, and Uncle Dana had to yell at us. But what you saw was we were a true family, and it goes higher than that. Our executive producer, Daryl Ewald, who unfortunately passed away just 6 months ago, he created a family atmosphere. So from him to our producers, it's great to see our last producer, Mike Ritchie, is now producing the Fox show and helping out with UFC tonight. It's cool. We had a very talented group of people, and we did it with a quarter of the people and a quarter of the budget that Fox has.
That's awesome, and that's something. There's something to be said for that, for sure. And now I think it's translating to you and Pat. You guys really seem to have a great rapport as well, and it must be kind of interesting for all those years on MMA. You must have been there at least some of the time when you were not out in the field, when they would say, "Let's throw it to our two best buddies, Michael Schiavello and Pat Miletich," and now you're there. So we could fast forward it back. They'd be saying, "Let's throw it to Ron Kruck and Pat Miletich." That must be cool. How does it feel? How are you liking it doing the play-by-play with Pat doing the color?
Colin, it's been an incredible ride. It's been I'll say this to anyone who wants to get into journalism, especially in these days, and television specifically: the more you can do, the more well-rounded you are, the more opportunities you get. And I've recreated myself again. I was Michael's backup for play-by-play for several years when he would be in Australia or take a week off, God forbid. Back in the IFL days, I filled in for Kenny several times, to evolving to the Glory Kickboxing the past 3 years doing the play-by-play. This now with Pat Miletich, we had worked together at Showtime a couple times, and with the IFL, so we had a good chemistry. I've known him throughout the years, just because he's been a part of the AXS TV family for so long. We've always had a great chemistry, and I think we're getting there. I think the first few shows, listen, I had huge shoes to fill. Michael Schiavello is as talented as they come. He's been calling fights since 16, so I think Pat and I needed a couple shows to hit that stride. We're going on number 6 this week in Oklahoma City for LFA 18, and I think we're hitting a great stride. It's been a lot of fun. I have never called fights on a weekly basis like Access does. We're going to do about 38 total shows this year. So it's a new world for me. It's a lot of prep. It's different timing, but I've enjoyed the ride. It's been great. We have very talented people helping out with these shows, and we'll give it. Well, I'll keep riding this out because I do truly enjoy working for Mark Cuban and the talented people at Access, or I wouldn't have been here over a decade.
Absolutely. Well, you're getting along great on camera. It looks great with Pat, and we like Pat. We've had Pat on the show a couple of times, and we're big fans of his, and so I'm really glad that they're lucky enough, to have you two guys working together there. I'll tell you a funny thing. I was talking to a fighter on my show, I think about a month or so back, and he was in an LFA fight, and he said, this was back before Michael left, and he said he was so determined to not hear Michael Schiavello yell out "Good night, Irene" against him, that he said, no matter what, I'm not losing, because if I have to have Michael Schiavello yelling out "Good night, Irene" as I'm getting knocked out, I will never live it down to any of my friends, So
that's classic. You don't want to be on the receiving end of the big kibosh.
That's right.
That's not for anybody.
Absolutely. No, that was great. And is he Australian? He was Australian, yeah, of course, right?
Yes, yeah. And he wanted to go home. Him and his wife Irene just had their second baby, another son, and they just wanted to be home. He came here when he signed on with HDNet. His goal was to do play-by-play for 3 years, and we ended up keeping him for 9. So we feel very blessed that we had him that long. But he was just ready to move back home to family.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just gave the answer that I don't think most of us knew. The "Good night, Irene" must come from his wife being Irene.
You know what's funny? It actually isn't. He used to say that earlier before he met
Oh, that's crazy.
It was a tag phrase that he came up with, a catchphrase, and the way to end the fight. And then he met Irene. Yeah, how crazy is that?
That is, right? Because then when he has to say it to her, "Good night, Irene," he's probably thinking to himself, he's probably picturing fight footage in his head coming up, thinking which knockout comes to his mind whenever he says goodnight to his wife. Is probably the question. Too much. Well, I tell you what, I definitely want to get those funny stories coming from you, but we definitely have a little bit of time left. And in that little bit of time, love to have the Ron Kruck breakdown on this crazy boxing versus MMA, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. Fights. You've covered so many. You've talked to so many fighters. You just admitted to having watched UFC #1 as I did when it was first out. Break down for me how you think this fight could possibly play out and what you think we might see.
Yeah, it truly is a gong show to say that again. It really is. It's crazy, but you have two incredible promoters. I think back when Conor was just starting, and the interest he was generating with every fight got bigger and bigger. The guy knows how to sell himself. And so, listen, freak show, gong show, whatever you call it, we're all going to buy it. Yep. And I think, if you can get paid for that, all the best to you. From a, X's and O's type of look, listen, I'm the MMA guy, but I have covered boxing for a long time. When you have someone who is as talented and arguably the best boxer of all time in Floyd Mayweather, what he does where he doesn't get punched, where it's all about defense, dipping the shoulder, moving, it's a tough task for McGregor, who has just not a lot of experience, if any. Yep. I think if he has any shot, it's the old cliche, the puncher's chance. He does have the power. If he can land and just connect one, I think he's got to make this dirty. I think he's got to, not go into the MMA rules. You don't want to lose all your money because the contract says if you do, you're in some trouble. But he's got to make this dirty. He's got to be unorthodox, and use his power and just try to catch Floyd. If Floyd just, if he tries to box with him, we're just going to have another dominating Floyd Mayweather performance and picking him apart. So it'll be interesting to see. Man, it's been crazy. I think the weirdest stat I saw was that Mayweather hasn't knocked anyone out since 1999. So he's not going to be able to, I don't think, knock Conor out, but he will be able to use the superior boxing, and in my mind, I think he picks him apart.
Yeah, it could be one of those where Max or Jim throw it to Harold Letterman, who says, "Well, Jim, I say we got it so far. Floyd Mayweather 100-90, and the 2 rounds left. We'll see what happens here." That you can see something like that, and it wouldn't be that great. But I don't know. Some people think that Conor may gas. A lot of people think Conor won't gas. Definitely, I'm glad you confirmed what I had heard from Sugar Ray Sefo on our show a week or so ago, is that there is a strict penalty clause in there if Conor does any type of MMA technique. The only thing I could think of is if he tries to be real subtle, like do a tie head plumb in a clinch or something, as long as he doesn't bring a knee up.
Make it dirty in the clinch, absolutely. A referee can't be on all sides, so I'm not saying cheats, but I'm saying you can do some things in the clinch that might benefit you.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the people that feel the most confident about Conor winning are the people that are substantially under 40, that feel, well, 40-year-old guy can't do anything. But I think that's way off.
Great point. Youth is on his side, and I think all those bettors looking for the big hit, I think they're on Conor's side too.
Yeah, and it would look great for MMA, but it would look horrible for boxing if Floyd lost this. So I think the pressure's on him to not screw this one up, and I think more than likely he won. So let me get to those funny stories. You've had so many travels, so many adventures, and chatted with so many people, and been to probably so many venues and locations that my head would spin even thinking of going there. Share with us a story or two that you have that has some humor to it. Love to hear.
Yeah, I was glad that we talked, Colin, because when you said you wanted to end with something cool or funny about Inside MMA and looking back, I started really thinking about it. And some incredible moments on that show, two that stand out to me personally as the host was when Dana White came on and we set it up where we finished the interview and I set it up. Dana, I think there's one more thing that you missed, you didn't touch on, so I'm just going to pass it to you. And I saw Bas kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? And that's when Dana announced that they were inducting Bas into the UFC Hall of Fame. That was
awesome.
Such a cool moment. We surprised Bas. I was just blessed to be a part of that. And then, in the field, I was in St. Petersburg, Russia. Me and Jens Pulver, we had the honor of calling at that time Fedor's last fight. And he goes in the ring after that fight. I mean, Vladimir Putin is sitting ringside. He comes in the ring. We're like, okay, this is it. He's going to retire. My translator's telling me what he says, and that's it. Doesn't retire.
Oh, wow.
Like, what in the world? So we go backstage, and I actually got to know Fedor through Affliction and Strikeforce in those days. And he sees me, and he's like, "You come over. We do interview." And by the way, he always spoke, I think, a lot more English than he led on to.
Interesting.
He would laugh. He would laugh before the translator even began to translate my question a lot of times. So
awesome.
He was great, but he came over and waited to tell me he was retiring during the interview, and that aired on Inside MMA, of course, as well. So a couple of cool moments, but when it came to something I'll always remember being a funny moment, it was with our buddy Justin Gaethje, and it was our April Fool's Day special. I mean, I always tried to do something funny with these guys, and I've known Justin for a little while, probably a couple years, and so I decided I was just going to butcher his name and see where we went with this. Really had no plan besides that. So I come in, all right, thanks, Kenny, thanks, Bas. Along with the World Series of Fightings, Justin Gaethje. And Justin, you got a big fight. And he's like shaking his head. He's like, Ron, no, it's Gaethje. And I just started playing it. I was like, that's not what my notes say. And he's like, what? So the notes say it's Gaethje. So, what are you doing? He's like, I've never even heard you pronounce it like that. And I just keep going. I was like, well, are you saying that my researchers are wrong?
Oh, no.
I kind of like take a little, what is this guy doing? And he's like, it's my name.
That's great.
And I get him, I said, you know what? Let's just agree to disagree. And he looked at me, and that's when I'm like, oh, God, this is going to be taken up a notch. He is going to just choke me out at any minute. And then I gave him the April Fools. Trevor Whitman jumped in, some of his teammates, and it was one of my favorite moments. Good TV.
That's
if your fans want to check it out, Google Inside MMA, Justin Gaethje, April Fools. It's a good time.
I like that, and it's funny because the under 30 guys are not used to us over 30 guys ripping on them. So he was probably thinking, wait a second, right?
Got it. Yeah, how you like that?
I love that. That's awesome, man. Well, I tell you, we will check that out, and so much great stuff coming from Ron Kruck. You guys don't want to miss any of his broadcasts with Pat Miletich. You're doing Lion Fight, you're doing LFA, and then Glory also. You're on Glory as well? Or is that
I think we have a little bit of a conflict of interest now being on Fridays since I've taken over from Michael. So I'm still involved with them a little bit here and there, but it's mostly AXS TV.
Right.
With we get the CES organization back east as well, Lion Fight and LFA.
Excellent.
And 30 some odd shows this year. That will keep me busy.
And are they all on the same night every week, Friday night? They are.
Yep, every Friday night, man. AXS TV, Comcast, DirecTV, Dish Network, AT&T. Check us out. Go to AXS.TV. But every week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 on the West Coast, and it's good stuff, man. We're proud to really be the feeder league into the UFC with the LFA. I was just looking at this card this weekend. We have 9 AXS TV fight veterans out of the 24 fighters on this UFC card. It's unbelievable. Our guys are winning the Contender Series and getting those UFC contracts. It's a lot of fun to see. So yeah, just check us out. AXS.TV is the website, and just cable and satellite providers. They'll hook you up.
Yeah, I will. And I wanted to leave with one thing that I had forgotten. A friend of our show is the legend Tara LaRosa. You must know her, one of the pioneers of MMA. She mentions a friend of hers from back in the day, Kelly Cobald, is coming back in an LFA fight in August. I know as a commentator, you can't cheer for anyone, but look out for Kelly Cobald. I think she's going to make some noise. I remember her fighting Tara in Bodog about 11 years ago.
God.
And I remember, in fact, I think her motto, Kelly Cobald's, was knocking bitch asses back to the kitchen. That was Kelly Cobald's motto, right? So look out for her. I think Kelly is coming back.
She is. Right. You're exactly right. I'm not exactly sure which LFA it is. I think it might be 20 or 21.
Right.
But I know she is coming back, and I'll have to find out if she's still using that nickname or that motto.
Yeah, check and see. But yeah, looking forward to seeing her, and I will keep watching every Friday that I can, which is most Fridays. And really appreciate you coming on, Ron. It's clear you're one of the genuine and super nice guys in our sport, and I'm a big fan of yours, and even more now since you've been on, man. It's a pleasure having you. I really appreciate you coming on the MMA Power Hour.
Colin, anytime. It was my pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing, bud. There's a void out there, and we need to keep telling these stories and doing these interviews, my man. So thank you. Anytime you need me, I'm around.
You're very welcome. We'll do it again soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, have a great one. Take care, Ron. Bye-bye. So that was Ron Kruck, ladies and gentlemen. What a really good guy. One of the very best commentators on TV today, representing MMA. Super nice guy, super well-spoken, knows the sport, upward and downward, from UFC 1 that he watched when it happened, as did I. He really is one of the most articulate commentators, with one of the best personalities, and is just someone that's a joy to watch and makes an event even more enjoyable. You don't have to turn the sound down like with some sports announcers when Ron Kruck is on there. So definitely check out Friday nights for LFA, for CES, for Lion Fight, and you won't be disappointed. So look, we have an amazing continued show, and we're going to just take a quick break now for these messages, and we'll be right back with more.
Hi, my name is David Fimbras with Boulevard Moving. We're a 5-star moving company here in Southern California with offices in Arizona and Nevada. We cover local, long-distance moving and your full storage needs.
Why choose Boulevard Moving? Well, that's simple. We offer 5-star ratings in local directories, information and guidance throughout the process, certified moving consultants, expert packers, and movers. 24/7 availability for moving and packing services. Highly recommended among the area's most prestigious realtors and estate managers. Our mission is to deliver superior customer service and to provide the highest level of quality workmanship for the physical movement of goods. We strive to maintain a level of communication that eliminates the stress and inherent concern people have when hiring a moving service, be it residential or commercial. Call us today at 844-274-0500 or visit www.boulevardmoving.com.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
Dick game so good, she talk crazy to me. She said, nigga, you could try, but ain't no leaving me. Hold up, big deal, baby, yeah, I give her the D. When I put it in the stump, she like, oh
ride with a nigga down the coast though, but please don't stuff both hoes. She on that Montana, that's the coke boy. She said it makes the demons come out. She gets freakier with her mouth. She likes deep throated with no doubt. Hey, she back on the shift, singing like whips. I bust in her mouth, now she gurgling shit. I'm a pimp by blood, not coincidence. I'm like a bad bitch, blindfold, trust pimp. I'm leaning to the side, looking for a bad bitch to find. My eyes on the prize, I'm wildin' tonight. Don't try to stop me now. My grind is on the rise. Your bitch is on the side. And I'ma slide her tonight. I'ma slide her tonight. Ooh.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
And welcome back to the MMA Power Hour. So glad you guys joined us. And let's jump right back into our show. I'm really excited to have this next gentleman. He is one of the most popular guys that people probably have not yet heard of. He's friends with so many people. He's been a producer, a promoter, a manager. The man knows MMA, and he's got some amazing projects coming up that a lot of people are looking forward to. We're talking about none other than Mr. Brian Moore. Welcome to the show, Brian.
How's it going, guys?
Doing very well. So glad to have you, my friend, and really looking forward to talking to you, and really glad you were willing to take the time to come on my show.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me on. Love the show.
Not a problem. Well, we'd love to find out about what's going on with your Legends project, and I think you've got maybe like a couple projects that are related to the Legends. If it's just one right now, that's fine. If it's a couple, let us know so our audience can hear what's going on with the Legends projects and some of the legends that are involved in this project that you're working on.
Yeah, we're actually working on several things right now. We've got No Way Out, the movie coming in early 2018 with New Vision Films, director Jeffrey Parker. We've got a lot of great legends involved: Shannon the Cannon Rich, Tim Sylvia, Gary Goodridge, Gary Iron Bear Myers, and so many more. We're making a movie in early 2018 based on the fight world. It's a movie about the future and the possibilities of where MMA could go in the future. And I'm really looking forward to working with Jeffrey. We've been working on this movie for a little over a year now. Everything's coming together. The casting's setting up real good. It looks like it's going to be a good project. And then here, about a month ago, I got contacted by a guy named Glenn Spillman out in California. He runs Cellar 13 Productions. We're going to be doing a documentary series called Legends of the Cage After the Final Bell, where we feature some of the great names of Legends of the Cage and talk about their contributions to the sport and things that fans just never knew. You know, we want to bring fans the stories that no one's ever heard in MMA, the true history of the sport. So I'm looking forward to both of those things. And then we have some stuff coming up here in the fall where we're working with some guys to bring them out to an event, get them to meet the legends. Great guy named Derek Moore who's battling blindness. We're working with him, get him from Huntsville, Alabama, up here to meet Coleman. I mean, there's just so much going on with Legends of the Cage, man. It's hard to keep up.
That's awesome. And I've been reading about it, and you've got some amazing people. You know, I know that some of the more popular guys are involved also. I don't know what the total involvement level is, but I know that that Coleman, Mark Coleman, Don Fry, you know, people like that are connected with your project, and so many other people. Goodrich, amazing, and Tim Sylvia, and so many other people. I know you hate to take up too much time dropping names, but where can people go to see all the amazing names that are involved with you and this Legends project and learn more about it?
Yeah, you can always find us on legendsofthecage.com. We actually have a link on there to be a part of the movie. You know, if you have fight experience, if you have acting experience, we're looking for people. So feel free to reach out to us at legendsofthecage.com. We have a full list of not even a full list. Let me back that up. There's a few guys we need to add. We've been really busy, but we have a detailed list of our legends on legendsofthecage.com. And then they can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Legends of the Cage is everywhere.
Awesome. And are you involved in some kind of charitable projects as well? I was thinking you either are or you may be soon or something like that.
Yeah, well, we do the Legends of the Cage Cares tour, the Do Good Things tour. The last 2 years we went out. We've done a lot of stuff with children's hospitals, bringing the legends out to Ronald McDonald houses. Like I said, currently we're working with a couple of guys. We got a young boy named Jace Mangold. He's battling leukemia. If you guys want to use the hashtag Fight for Jace, hashtag Legends of the Cage. We sent him out some stuff. We're going to be doing some stuff with him. And then we just recently met a guy named Derek Moore who has a kid. He's blind. He lives his life every day though, like we should. So we're reaching out to Derek. We're going to find a way to bring him up here, get him some time with Coleman and some of the legends he loves, and then try to change this young man's life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a really good cause. If anyone wanted to donate to help people meet some of the legends of MMA and or help the cause of people that are fight fans or martial artists that have either disability or very difficult diseases or conditions, where can they go to help out?
Yeah, they can always reach out to us at legendsofthecage.com. Or Legends of the Cage on Facebook. We're always looking for sponsors. We're always looking for people to be a part of it. Any companies out there that want to attach their name to doing some good things around the world and getting these guys back out in the spotlight. We're always eager to talk to you. And we do have a GoFundMe page, Legends of the Cage. And like I said, every dime is invested in good things.
That's excellent. And I remember Frank Shamrock saying when I interviewed him that people had so much personality in the early days of our sport because it was tough. It was wild and woolly, and people didn't really know what to expect. There wasn't much publicity. There wasn't a ton of money or a possibility of a ton of money in it. And people did it for the passion and just a bunch of guys that had the courage to jump in there and participate. And like Frank said, people you were able to be themselves, and there was a bunch of unique guys out there. So I think that nowadays, not that there aren't unique personalities, but it's a little bit of a different thing. And so I think the legends, there are so many amazing tough characters that have amazing personalities and amazing stories and senses of humor and everything that I think people really should check out this project. Because if you ask me, a fan ever since the first UFC, bringing a whole bunch of those guys together like you're doing is just going to be amazing. It's almost like those movies like the Magnificent Seven or the Dirty Dozen, except these are true real life tough guys that were in the cage back in the day. So I'm really excited. I think that's going to be an amazingly entertaining film, and any projects with them I think would be really great.
Well, and that's the thing I like working about with these guys is because, a lot of these fighters, they do have that personality, but it's built, it's fake, it's their persona. But these guys that fought the early days, they live, they breathe it. Don Fry is Don Fry. There's no pulling punches, there's no so, and that's why I enjoy working with these guys. If you want an honest opinion, ask a legend.
Yeah. They're exactly, and they're real. They're no BS guys. They'll tell it like it is, and they're guys that have been there and done that and left the blood, sweat, and tears back in the cage in those days when it was really not nearly as glamorous as right now. So that's amazing. So the film project is going to be for release next year, or you're going to start shooting it next year?
Hopefully it'll be released next year as well, but we're going to start shooting in early 2018.
Okay, so really early next year you'll start shooting it. And you are actually looking for actors and fighters to actually be involved with it. Not that anyone who inquires is going to be brought in a role, but it looks like you do have some spots available if people inquire and you meet with them that could possibly be involved in the film.
Yeah, actually, since we announced it, we've had a lot of people reach out to Legends of the Cage wanting to be in this movie, and we have cast people from the legendsofthecage.com website. So yeah, feel free to reach out, send us your info, whether you're a fighter, whether you're an actor, we are looking for people to come in and actually do roles in the movie, and we're looking for people to come in and just be killed by these legends. So
awesome.
You know, to me, that would be the coolest part of all, is to die at the hands of one of these guys.
Absolutely, absolutely, that would be amazing. Like, to be for me, I mean, I'm fans of so many guys on your list, but you know, I've always loved Don Fry. For me, if I'd be there being knocked out by Don Fry, that would be epic. You know, and even though I would love to be the guy knocking someone else out, I think more realistic would be those guys knocking me out. Even though I train a little bit, but you know, so yeah, so you guys could have an opportunity for that and to meet some of these amazing legends, and that would be and there really are more than just like 7 or 10 guys. You're dealing with about 5 or 6 dozen legends, aren't you?
Yeah, we've got close to 60 fighters, maybe a little over 60, and we're adding every day. You know, I'm reaching out all the time. We're trying to reach out to Mark Kerr this week.
Awesome.
Like I said, if they fought in the cage, if they came in and entertained fans, we want them to be a part of Legends of the Cage. You know, no matter how big your name or how small you may feel it is, you were an integral part of this sport.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I was a huge fan of Kerr, mentioning Kerr. I think also that a lot of people that are fighters now and that trained or that were fans then really respect Kerr. Kerr, you know, went on film with that Smashing Machine documentary when the sport wasn't that popular, and yes, some spots of it pointed out some things that Kerr wasn't that happy that was going on in his life, but he wasn't afraid. I mean, it's like nowadays everyone wants to be looking great all the time. No one wants to see a picture of them getting knocked out in the gym or having to battle with the problem. And I think Kerr was just so cool and so brave to say, hey, yeah, you can document this stuff. Some of it will be great and flattering for me. Some of it won't be, but it is what it is, and it's reality. And I think that was, I think Kerr deserves an enormous respect for having participated in that Smashing Machine. And I think it showed the good, the bad, and the ugly of no holds barred fighting then, and the sacrifice that they went through. Kerr, you know, I remember Kerr saying that no one really knew what to expect then. He went over to Brazil, headbutts were allowed, there was no time limits. You know, literally he was fighting somewhere where he could have been killed. And I remember Kerr said that he really just wanted to get as big as he could, so the chances of being, you know, severely injured were less than they would have been. And so he wasn't all about trying to look like the biggest, toughest guy. He just really didn't want to be severely injured and wanted to be as strong as he could. And I think Kerr is awesome. I think Kerr is one of the heroes of the early days, and that Smashing Machine, I think, is one of the best documentaries, and shows that the guy just wanted to put it out there, and you know, and wasn't afraid what people thought. He's an amazing guy. Is he a pretty interesting guy to know, Mark Kerr? Have you talked to him at all?
I've talked to him a couple of times, but like I said, I haven't had the chance to really form that relationship with him. I'm going to be reaching out this week. You know, with the number of guys that we have, it's hard to keep up with that many, you know. Yeah. But definitely we want to reach out to Kerr. You know, that's our goal of this documentary, is to not only film the good side. I mean, everybody sees the good side of MMA. They see the money, the lights, the fun, you know, but we want to film the aftermath, some of the things that's happened to these guys, some of the struggles they deal with on a daily basis to this day, you know. You know, guys like Gary Goodridge who still have issues, you know. We want to cover it all. We want fans to know the real history of the sport, so the future can be better for this sport, basically.
Yeah, and that's really honorable. That's really important, not just to sugarcoat everything and to make it glamorous. Too bad Kevin Randleman's not around. I know he would have been part of this project, without a doubt, being probably one of the best friends Mark Coleman had. And God bless Kevin Randleman. He was just an amazing guy, and man, I think he would have been right there, I'm sure, with alongside Coleman and the rest of your guys, huh?
Yeah, we actually inducted Randleman right before his passing. You know, of course, nobody had any idea of the timing of it, you know. Yeah. But I do wish we would have had more time to highlight Randleman's contributions and him be a part of it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So what else can you tell us that you want to put out there about the other projects that you're talking about? Because you have the film and you have some other projects. So you let us know anything else you want to shout out, because this is such a good cause and you're a guy that really is wanting to get these legends back involved in so many things. Tell us a little bit more about what we can expect and what you're wanting to accomplish with the other projects that the legends are involved with other than the film.
Yeah, we've got a lot going on, man. Like I said, we've got the movie, the documentary. I've been working with a guy on putting together a museum, an MMA museum, highlighting some of the greatest pieces of the history of this sport. Legends of the Cage is coming strong in 2018. I plan on doing some stuff, running some Facebook contests here over the next month, giving away some great prizes. Like I said, when I started Legends of the Cage, it wasn't just to bring these guys back out or to, give them a home or a place to tell their stories, but it was to help. It was to make a difference in the world. And we've managed to do that over the last 4 years with our Do Good Things tour, and we plan on extending 2018 and 2019 and just helping as many people as possible. So if you guys know of anybody out there that's a huge MMA fan that's deserving of meeting these guys or being a part of what we're doing, or feel free to reach out to Legends of the Cage at legendsofthecage.com, and we'll see what we can do about actually making them a part of it as well.
That sounds awesome. Now, tell me, were you a fan? Were you seeing all these guys fight back in the day, or did you become more recently a fan and just look back and get to know about these legends?
I've been a fan forever, man. I can't say I was there for UFC 1. My first experience with the UFC was sitting in a buddy's basement watching Gary Goodridge elbow Paul Herrera at UFC 8 in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico, yeah.
First fight I ever seen, man, was Gary Goodridge fighting Paul Herrera, and I was hooked.
Yeah.
So for me to meet Gary Goodridge and him to become my first friend on Twitter and actually get all this started. I mean, if it wasn't for meeting Gary, Legends of the Cage wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here,
That's important to know.
To me, that's an honor. The first guy I ever seen is the first guy that joined me and became a part of it.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he's always been a gentleman of the sport. A lot of people don't remember he was also an arm wrestling champion back in the day, and I think that he came in there without a tremendous amount of preparation at first, but he was such a determined guy and such an athletic guy that he just really competed against some guys that had a big history. Like, he had those great fights against Don Fry, and Don Fry I know was I'm pretty sure was a Division I All-American, and Gary Goodridge just hung right there with Don Fry, and so he was amazing. And that Paul Herrera move,
people don't realize Gary's very first pro fight ever was in UFC 8 versus Paul Herrera.
Wow, that was his first pro MMA or NHB fight.
Yeah, he worked at Honda before that, man. And,
wow.
Like I said, Davey happened to see him arm wrestle Cleve Dean.
Yep.
His friends reached out to Art and said, we want to get this guy in the UFC. And UFC 8, he was fighting Herrera and being the runner-up.
Yeah,
so
it was amazing.
It's just, amazing to go from not fighting at all to being one of the biggest names in the UFC.
Yeah, he's absolutely to be respected, Gary Goodridge, and always a gentleman. He's Canadian, I think, isn't he?
Yes,
yeah.
It's Canadian.
A lot of great Canadians.
I don't hold it against him.
It's funny. I heard Gene Lavelle say something like that once. No, not about anyone else. His wife is Canadian. He was saying, don't hold that against her, I think. He was on my show a while ago.
Mitch Clark. Yeah,
just
sorry, Mitch Clark.
Yeah, I know. No, in reality, I think Canada's our next door neighbors, and I don't know anyone that dislikes Canadians. They're amazing, and I can't wait to see George St. Pierre come back and really rock it. But absolutely some great people, and Gary Goodridge is super amazing, and he's been friends with Mark Coleman for many years as well, hasn't he? I think they started training together years back.
Yeah, actually, from the first days of his career, early Pride. Early UFCs, they've known each other and that's what's crazy is some of the greatest wars. You take Don Fry, Gary Goodridge fought 3 times, vicious knockouts, but yet to this day they love each other. You know what I mean? It's like brothers. So
yep.
That's what's crazy about this sport is these guys can go in and battle and then at the end of the day, they're all friends, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the respect and that warrior spirit, and I think that martial arts spirit. And that's something that's important to me. I've said it on my show here many times, not to knock boxing, because I've always been a boxing fan, not as big as an MMA fan, but I like the fact that the martial arts do come into play in our sport of MMA, and there really is that respect that goes beyond sometimes what I've seen, in boxing. And that's kind of what martial arts is supposed to be about. And I know that we have people from various disciplines, and having being a stand-up karate guy or traditional karate guy only is maybe a couple guys left, like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or whatever, Machida in his karate style. But I still think the martial arts spirit really shows through in MMA, and especially with the legends and the guys that were there years ago and put out so much. They really do seem to have that respect for each other, whether they fought each other in wars or not, don't they?
Oh yeah, and what's crazy is the honor among these guys, and not saying that the fighters of today don't have that honor, but it's just a different. They approach the entire sport different than the guys of today. The no holds barred days, early UFC days, it was a whole different beast back then.
Yeah. Do the guys ever talk to you about modern day MMA and what their thoughts are on what they're seeing? I know it's different, but I'd love to hear. You probably do have them mention what they think about this fight they just saw. Are a lot of them still following it, or are most of them not? 50-50? Tell me a little bit about how many of the legends are still watching, and maybe what, not using individual names, but what they're thinking kind of as a whole about what they're seeing now.
I would say 90% of the guys still follow MMA. Once it's in your blood, it's in your blood. You do have a few guys that once they left the sport, right. But for the most part, every time there's a big fight, McGregor, Diaz, or I'm getting calls. We're talking about who's going to win the fight, who's what's coming up next, who's next for who. So
nice.
Yeah, most of these guys are really up to date on their stuff. They definitely have opinions. Like Cormier Jones fight, for instance. There were several legends I disagreed with on that fight. But yeah, they stay up to date for sure. They definitely love the sport of MMA.
That's cool. My girlfriend was a big fan of a lot of the legends. I know she liked Goodrich and was watching with me back then, but she really liked Don Frye a lot. And she's always felt that Don Frye would even fight a champion today. She said if they can't fight anyone, if they can't find someone for Stipe Miocic, Don Frye would probably fight him tomorrow. You know what I mean? So, right? He's amazing.
Gary Goodrich, any of these guys, man. I mean, even with all the issues Gary's dealt with, if they called him today and said, we want you at Risen, it would take all of us to hold him back. You know what I mean? It's in their blood.
I bet. Yeah, absolutely amazing, tough guys. Let me ask you, and I know they're giving their opinions. Are any of them believing that Conor wins in the boxing match against Floyd?
None that I've met.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple hidden guys out there, holding out hope, but none that I've talked to, because they see the reality of what's going on,
Yeah.
And
what do you
I give McGregor a punch chance, like I would have a chance against Mayweather. He may trip and hit his head and knock himself out.
Right.
But
that would be my chance too.
Yeah. I look more for it to be death by 1,000 paper cuts, Mayweather winning.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems that way. And I mean, it's interesting because the differences of opinion that I've heard, some fighters and MMA commentators, journalists, coaches, or trainers have said that they think for sure McGregor goes the distance. Others have said they really don't think he'll go the distance. Some have said he's going to gas out. Others have said he's probably not going to gas out. The one thing everyone's kind of together on is that he's not going to win. I think they're pointing out that Floyd hasn't knocked out a whole bunch of people over the years. But remember, Floyd's been fighting kind of number 1 and number 2 contender after number one and 2 contender every time. So it's not like he's fought someone with as limited experience in boxing as Conor. I think some people also tend to feel that are younger that Floyd's 40, so he's got to be a shell of his former self. I don't think that's true at all. Do you?
Yeah, and in the words of Conor McGregor, whether he wins the fight or not, he's already won.
Yeah. Money.
The payday's there. I mean, the man could possibly never have to work again, for one fight, for half a fight, as he likes to say.
Yeah, and I know one thing. Go ahead.
It's definitely going to help the sport of MMA, for sure.
Yeah. I know one thing you and I were talking about briefly, and we got interrupted when we had to start the show. But what do you think about the fact that apparently there's a clause in there if Conor does anything outside the rules of boxing, such as a kick, a knee, a takedown, anything, that he could lose, I think, a portion or all of his purse. I remember you were feeling that still might be very hard for him to avoid, especially if he's getting kind of manhandled or picked apart. Tell me more about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think that would be something that may be easy to control round 1, 2, and 3. But if Mayweather's just peppering you over and over, about the 5th or 6th round, you're going to want to knee kick this cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, like, the money that's involved would definitely be a deterrent. But it's instinct. A lot of what you do in that cage is instinct. I don't know. I see it definitely being an issue as far as whether he's able to keep it under wraps. And if he lets one fly, he might as well let 30 knees fly, right?
Right. That's true. If he, that would be crazy. I mean, would that be insane if he starts getting frustrated?
Just lose it and just beat the crap out of Mayweather.
Oh man! Especially what might he do? He could throw like maybe do a tie head plum, maybe knee him in the head at first, step back, and maybe do like a spinning wheel kick, get him right in the jaw, and knock him cold. Oh, man, that would be great. Can you imagine, though, boxing has been known to have brawls in the ring afterward. I remember several from the 90s. You might as well. But if that happened, imagine how many boxing fans or friends of Mayweather and bodyguards might jump in there. Man, it'd be like one of the biggest melees, probably, people beating the crap out of each other in history. What comes to mind, and MMA fans might not remember, but do you remember Mike Tyson versus, not Mike Tyson, it was Riddick Bowe versus Andrew Galata in the 90s, and Riddick Bowe was the champ. Galata was like a number 5 or 6 contender. I think they couldn't get the number 1 or 2 was available, or 3. They brought him in there. He was beating Riddick Bowe as like a 5-1 underdog, and then he hit him low 3, 4, 5 times. And the 5th time he hit him low, the referee disqualified him and lifted Riddick Bowe's arm up while he was laying on the ground, making him the winner. And people ran in from Riddick Bowe's corner, and someone ran over and hit Andrew Galata on the head with a cell phone. And then about 40 guys started jumping in the ring, beating the crap out of each other. And someone knocked the headphones off of Jim Lampley and Larry Merchant. And George Foreman was there saying, "Don't do it, son. Don't do it. Don't do it, son. I know you want to." And we couldn't see what was going on. It was insane. If anyone wants to YouTube that, Andrew Galata against Riddick Bowe, it was insane. And that was in New York. I think they happened
recently, didn't it?
I think so.
In kickboxing?
I think it may have. If it did, I admit I must have missed it. But yeah, what did you hear?
Oh yeah, this guy turned his back and went to walk away and was sucker punched. It was a brutal knockout, brutal.
Oh.
But the minute he done, seen fans jumping in the ring just throwing punches. I mean, they wasn't having it,
Yeah. And
I Google that.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna check that out. But don't you think if McGregor does something like kick Mayweather, if McGregor kicks Mayweather, that could be repeated? Wouldn't you think possibly? Some sort of.
I think it would be the biggest hype for Conor McGregor in the world.
Yeah, Yeah, but
if you can't make the payday, you might as well sell the video.
Yeah, but then he may be attacked. It could be a riot in the ring if that happens. Is what I'm thinking.
Riot.
Who knows, man? Well, yeah.
Tell you what, I was there for the McGregor-Mendez fight.
Yeah.
And it was a riot-type situation then.
I bet.
It was crazy. The amount of Irish love that came to Las Vegas was just crazy.
Yeah, gotta be. And I tell you, if McGregor can win, that's great for MMA, but I think really bad for boxing, isn't it? If McGregor wins.
I think it's bad for boxing all around.
Yeah.
If McGregor comes in and stands for 4 rounds with Mayweather, one of the greatest boxers ever, a man who's never been in a boxing ring, it's a loss for boxing.
Yeah, I think so.
My props to Dana White for making it happen. You know, I'm not the biggest Dana White fan in the world, you know, but he's slowly winning me over as far as being a great promoter. You know, he does make money for the sport. Yeah,
that's true. And the fact that he had McGregor under contract allows him to have a big chunk of the money. He probably would. Could you imagine if McGregor losing his purse if he commits a foul would be one thing, but can you imagine if McGregor and Dana would both lose their purse? Could you imagine that? If that was the case, Dana would probably be telling him, hey, look, do whatever you want in there, but if you lose both of us our money, I will kill you. I don't know. He may not say that, but that would be interesting if they not only said that McGregor loses all his money if he commits a foul, but he loses all Dana's money. That would be would definitely be something, wouldn't it?
I'll be glad when all the hype's done, when all the talk's done, when the fight's over, so Dana White and the UFC can actually go back to focusing on, you know, setting up great fights. Working with other fighters in the organization to give them an opportunity. You know, there's a lot of number 1 contenders, number 2 contenders out there that aren't getting title shots. That fight the way to the top just to watch somebody like GSP come in after years and take that now. You know, like John Jones' return. You know, I'm a huge John Jones fan at one point. He lost me there for a while. I even got a dog named John Jones, you know? Nice. So, but for him to come back and have that number 1 contender spot and not have to fight his way to it, not have to earn that, to me was just like a slap in the face to the guys that have fought their way to that position, you know? I agree. So I'm hoping after all the Conor crap that they can focus on just making good fights again, making it, you know, do away with the entertainment aspect, the WWE aspect of what we've been dealing with the last few years. Yeah,
I would like that as well. And I talked to a couple of really experienced and respected commentators that feel the same way, that it would be really nice if the WWE aspect of MMA were kind of chilled out a little bit and get back to what this is supposed to be, which is mixed martial arts and amazing competition. So I'm with you. We're birds of a feather there, and I think most of us serious fans are. Well, hey, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Brian. We support your Legends effort tremendously. You know, we've had a lot of Legends on our show. We're going to want to have your Legends on our show, and we're going to coordinate with you. You know, we're on hiatus for 2 weeks after this, but we'll be in close touch as well to make sure we can get your Legends coming on some episodes of our MMA Power Hour coming up. So expect a phone call over this next week, and we can do some coordinating for that.
Anytime, buddy, anytime.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, my friend. Really appreciate you coming on. We'll be in touch, and keep up the great work you're doing, man. It's awesome. Your cause is awesome, and you're a good guy to be doing this, man. So all respect to you.
I thank you guys. Thank you for having me on the show, and I look forward to watching it.
You're very welcome. Me as well. Take care, Brian. Have a great night.
You too, Colin.
Thanks. Bye-bye. And that was Mr. Brian Moore. Really great guy. You guys got to check out Legends of the Cage. So many legends, 60 legends. There's definitely legends that some of you love and some other ones like. There's a legend for all of you. In other words, whoever you loved probably is on that list. And if it's a bunch of people, probably most of them are on the list, you know, that are involved in the Legends of the Cage. So go check it out. Hey, we're going to go to commercial real quick, but first I wanted to say thank you so much to Fuji Sports. You still get 15% off if you go put in Power Hour in the discount code Fuji Sports. They are amazing. Fujisports.com is where you go. Cross-trained MMA fighter, great special on their last remaining shirts, so hit us up or hit them up directly. And also want to thank the best website out there, which is combatsports.com. And iFlexi Studios will be back after these messages.
He's too handsome. He's too handsome for Hollywood. He's too sexy. He's too sexy for his own good. This is the King of Connecticut, Matt Granahan, host of The King's Court, telling you to go to the Amazon Kindle store and pick up a copy of my new book, Too Handsome for Hollywood. The world according to the suntan Superman. with the foreword by the UFC Hall of Famer, Dan the Beast Severn. He's too handsome. He's too handsome for Hollywood. He's too sexy. He's too sexy for his own good. Yeah. $9.99. Pick it up today. Too handsome for Hollywood. The Amazon Kindle store. You'll be glad you did.
Get ready for FanFlow, the ultimate way to experience live music. With FanFlow, you become a part of the show. Connect and share with fellow fans who love the music as much as you. Control what you hear, control what you see, and record it so you can relive those amazing performances wherever and whenever you want. Before the show, you decide the playlist and interact with the venue. During the show, you share your experience, buy what you're hearing, and hear what you want. FanFlow gives you the superpowers you wish you could have at a live performance so you become a part of the experience and connect with your favorite performers.
And welcome back to the MMA Power Hour. I was going to say Inside the MMA after having talked to Ron Kruck earlier. That would have been funny, huh? Welcome back to the MMA Power Hour. We're so glad you are back with us. We have an amazing rest of our show here, and let's jump right back into it right now. And so we are very happy to have back with us one of the top welterweight contenders in Bellator MMA. He's an amazing fighter. We are talking about Mr. Fernando Gonzalez. Welcome to the show, Fernando.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Okay, so Fernando, you are one of my favorite fighters and one of the nicest guys I've met of all the fighters, and so I want to make sure we rock this, because the last time we had you on, we had a great audio interview, but your Skype was frozen, and once again, your Skype is frozen. I don't know what's wrong. I know that you're training over there at Team Quest, and I think you might have been there last time, or were you over in Menifee when we had you on 2 months ago?
I'm over here in Team Quest right now.
And because for some reason we're still seeing a frozen Skype screen, and we really want to do better than that for you. So let me ask my producer here, and the fans hope you guys understand. We really want to make sure we get a good video if we can with Fernando. So Adam, Dr. Adam Rorta, what can we do? Do we want to call Fernando back to see if we can establish a better Skype? Okay, Fernando, we're going to call you back. Let's disconnect, and we're going to Skype you back and see if we can get this fixed right away, okay?
Oh, sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, so we're disconnecting now, and Dr. Adam Rorta is going to call Fernando Gonzalez and see if we can get him back. Just for me to know, because I'm not the super high-tech guy, what causes that, doctor? Is it just his not a good Wi-Fi connection on his part?
Yeah, usually it's just a Wi-Fi connection on his part, and it happens from time to time. We can't really tell who it's going to happen with. It's going to happen with the Skype. It's just a Skype app in general.
Okay. And I know he's over in San Diego area or something. I think he's a little bit... No, he's in Temecula. I wonder if that area might not be great for Skype. But let's see what happens. Nothing against Temecula. I love it, although it always makes me think of tarantulas. Okay. All right. So hey, the doctor. I made the doctor laugh right there. It's always a good thing. You see a lot of good teeth on Dr. Adam Rorta.
When I'm getting the call, it's just saying audio is not showing video.
Okay, because I think so. Then, doctor, what does he have to do now?
Let's just go with the audio for now.
Okay, so Fernando, you don't want to. Okay, wait. There we go. Okay, now I think we're good. right there. We're seeing you, Fernando, and you know, let's make sure we have you in there, and let's start talking. And then if it freezes, then we'll just end up doing just audio. But let's talk now that we have you. You look like you're looking in great shape there, my friend. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Excellent.
Butt off and get ready for this fight.
I like that. And your nickname is the Menifee Maniac, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my nickname.
I like that. So, were you born or raised up in Menifee, or if not, I would imagine you are. That's why you have that nickname, right?
Raised in Menifee. I was born in Escondido, so not too far from Menifee, but I grew up in Menifee, so I love representing my town and where I grew up.
Excellent. Are there any other active MMA fighters that you know of from Menifee?
Not from Menifee. Murrieta, guys that I've trained and worked with and kind of come up with were either Murrieta or Temecula, but not Menifee.
Nice. And in Temecula is where you train at Team Quest, right?
Yeah, I train at Dan Henderson's Athletic Fitness Center here in Temecula.
Awesome, and that's amazing. Dan is incredible, and I know over the years a lot of the people, Randy Couture and Chael Sonnen, have been there in the past. So you've had some amazing training with some legends, haven't you?
Oh man, it's been a ride and a learning process, man. I never wrestled a day in my life, so I never had any bad habits, but getting my butt kicked by those guys for a couple of years showed me the right things, you know, to do.
Yeah, it really seems like it, man, because you honestly seem like a wrestler. When I see you fight, you seem like a guy who someone could say this guy was an All-American, you know, wrestler, man. And it's amazing because you were strikers. But I guess possibly, not that I'm going to say anyone can learn like you did, but I guess possibly if I was going to be training with guys like that, I'd probably be a better wrestler than I would be right now, you know, as well. So it really matters a lot. And those guys, I guess those guys are amazing teachers and partners as well as just athletes, aren't they?
Yeah, man. Never held anything back. They've always willing to show us what they knew, and obviously, like throughout the years, we've adapted new styles or adapted the wrestling with my style. So, just a little inputs that they've had throughout their career helped me with mine. So. Yeah, they've always been an open book with me, so I love that about them, and I respect that about them.
Nice. And now this next fight on August 25th, am I right, in Bellator? And that's the day before that crazy Mayweather-McGregor, right?
That's the day before, so we get a kickoff fight and put on a great show, a free show for everybody, and you know, get to see history be made.
I love it. And so that's going to be Friday on Spike TV. You guys will get to see the great Bellator. Is that Bellator 182, I think, right, Fernando?
Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent.
182.
And your opponent is a very tough guy. Both of you, I would say. And I know Bellator, I think, isn't focusing so much on putting out rankings, but if they did, pretty much for sure, both yourself and Brennan Ward would be top 10, and so that's an interesting fight. What do you feel about Brennan Ward as far as what he presents? To me, you guys have some similarities, and I'd really like to see how you feel that fight possibly could go, or how you match up, or what you think Brennan Ward is going to bring that's going to make that fight interesting, and as much as you want to disclose what you think you're going to bring that might make it even more challenging for him.
Comes out to fight every single fight. He's exciting. He comes forward. He's got a lot of power. And he just comes strapped, man. That's the thing about him. You can't really say he's going to do a particular thing other than fight, you know. So wherever it ends up, it's because he's fighting. It ends up being a takedown. He just kind of seems like he's flowing as he's fighting. And that's why I think our similarities, our fighting styles are very similar. I like to fight wherever it goes. I constantly press forward, and I'm throwing. And if they get me to the ground, I'm working back up to my feet and continuing to throw. I see him shooting on me. He does that in his fights. If he gets caught with anything, or if he starts to get tired, he starts to gas, he will shoot for a takedown. So those are some of the things that I'm working on to make sure the more I can keep it standing, the more I can beat his body up, beat him up, it'll break. I think he's got a tough hurdle to go over right now, and he's fighting me. the first hurdle is that he just got knocked out his last fight. So that's going to be on the back of his mind. And, you know, I know that's a big key for me. All I got to do is kind of remind him that he can go to sleep again, and I'll get my win.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think that coming off a knockout like he has, would you guess that he's going to try to come out fast so that maybe he's just kind of tries to get some respect so that, you know, so that you don't come out fast on him? What do you think that someone who just got knocked out might try to do their very next fight, if there's any kind of, you know, common thing that someone in that situation might do? I mean, not that you want to say you think it's necessarily this, but what do you think might be a couple of ways that he might come out in lieu of the fact that he just got knocked out like 5-6 months ago?
Yeah, I think that's just his style. Either way, he's killed. You know, that's the way he likes to fight. So I'm expecting him to come forward and start early. That's his style anyway. I think anything that if he tries to change it now, I think it'll throw him off more than if he just comes after me.
Yeah.
But I train for everything, and if he wants to keep it standing at a distance where, you know, I kind of have to come forward, it just plays into my favor more because it allows me to open up my game. And you know, one of the things that I'm good at picking people apart in there and figuring out what mistakes they're making, and I exploit those mistakes.
I like that. What number are you guys, like the third or fourth fight after the main, or the second fight? Do you know yet, or they still don't disclose that this far out?
Main event.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
you're the co-main?
Yeah, we're co-main event.
Awesome.
Chidi Bang and Andrei Korshkov are main event, and we're the co-main.
Awesome, man. I'm really glad to hear that. I was hoping for that, but I'd rather to predict that you were third or fourth fight and have you say it was better than for me to say, oh, you're the co-main, and have you say, no, we're the fourth fight. So I figure, you know what, I'm really glad, though. So it was a pleasant surprise, and you deserve it, man. That's going to be awesome. Second fight of the night, and that first fight, Chidi Bang and Jaquani against Koreshkov, is really interesting. And you know, I really can't push you too much more as far as strategy and what you're going to do and what you think Ward is going to do, because that you need to keep to yourself. But let's break down that main event, which is also in the welterweight division. How do you see Koreshkov and Jaquani playing out? And then if you have a prediction after you break it down, love to hear that.
Honestly, I think Koreshkov he's going to try to get a takedown against him, because you know, Chidi Bang, he likes to throw, and he throws a lot of knees and stuff like that, so it makes it easier for him to get taken down. I think with the way Koreshkov fights, if the takedown's there, he's going to take it. And Chidi Bang's good, but from what I saw on the ground against Melvin Gillard, so a guy that's way lighter than him, he did outwork Gillard, but Gillard doesn't have the best ground, and Gillard was able to get him down and control him for a little bit until Chidi Bang got the sweep. But somebody that has a lot more experience on ground, it could be a decision. You know, I haven't seen Koreshkov do too many submissions or anything like that where he finishes guys on bottom, but I could see it being a decision if he gets in trouble, him having to take Chidi down, because Chidi's got the reach. So if Chidi's picking him apart, I think Koreshkov will be in the position to get that takedown and you know, secure a win that way.
Okay. And I think it's possible that the winner of that fight could fight the winner of your fight, which we're expecting will be you. Do you think that would be a possibility? Have you heard anything about that? Or do you think it's possible, with Koreshkov having been the former champion, that they're going to have the winner of that fight Lima?
No, I understand, or at least the way they're trying to make it out, Roy McDonald has the title shot next.
That's right.
So more than likely, whoever wins between us two, our fights, will face each other in the time that those guys fight. At least that's what I'm hoping for. And then after that, we'll see who's on top and be ready to challenge for the title. I think I'll be the guy. So
yeah,
training for everything and to be ready for either guy. But I already been training for Korshkov before, so I don't know. I'm just ready for whoever they throw at me.
Excellent. And let me ask you, if this fight was like the main and you were like the 4th fight down, or this fight was like the 3rd fight and you were the 8th fight, then conceivably you can come and sit down and watch it. But when you're the 2nd fight and this is the 1st fight, assuming that you're not cut up or banged up at all, is there a chance you'll be able to sit down there and watch it, or do most of the time they end up wanting people to at least get patched up a little bit, and you don't think you'll see that fight? I guess it depends how it goes. If you don't get even marked at all, you're sitting down there to watch that fight, which is probably your plan, possibly, right?
That's the plan, but I know how this guy fights and the way I fight, so I'm gonna come out with some bumps and bruises, but that's what we plan for. You know, the fights I can catch later on. I'm there for a job, and that's get my hand raised. So anything that happens after that, you know, if I can make it to see the fight, that's perfect, because at least I'm there. But you know, I know I'll be able to watch it later on and pick apart what I think their mistakes are, and then use it against them later on in the future.
Absolutely, and I think so, and I'll be cheering for you for sure, my friend.
Thank you.
No problem. So let me ask you, we just had UFC 214, and there was a lot of interesting stuff that went on there. Love to get your opinion, and I know you do have some opinions on a couple of the fights, especially one of them. But before I ask your opinion on the one that you do have feelings about, can I ask your opinion on Woodley against Maia? That's your division. You know, you're a top MMA fighter. They're top MMA fighters. I've had Tyron Woodley on the show before. I like Damian Maia as well, but I think that fight went kind of the way it had to go. The only difference is if it didn't go that way, then it would have meant that either Woodley knocked Maia out or Maia was able to get Woodley down and submit him. But if those two things didn't happen, this is kind of the way that fight was going to go, and I don't think it deserves all the haters that it's getting. I don't know. Can I ask your opinion as a top MMA fighter in that same division?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on that is, you know, if you don't want a boring fight, don't put boring fights together. You know what I mean? You know that fight was going to play out that way because Maia goes for takedowns and goes for jiu-jitsu. If you're a fan of MMA, then you would have loved that fight. You know, I think Woodley did everything that he needed to, and obviously he dislocated his shoulder and still was able to beat one of the top guys. And this is somebody, Maia was killing everybody. You know, he was taking everybody's back and finishing them. I mean, other than Masvidal, but Masvidal, you know, it was a good fight, but, you know, I think Woodley did a great job.
Yeah.
It's really going to depend on how they match him up. Look what he did at Lawler.
Yeah, absolutely. What I mean? That's what I say.
On the first round.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really the. You know, if you want an MMA fight, sometimes you're going to get a boring fight, and that's just the way it is. But I think it was right because Maia deserved a shot. I honestly believe they needed full camps, and it would have been a better fight. But you know, they're trying to rush things, and I think honestly they thought that Woodley was going to get submitted, and that's why they tried to rush it so he wouldn't have enough time to defend what Maia was going to do to him.
Right.
But he obviously had enough to do to get it done.
Yeah, it seems that way. It really does. And I think that that it seems like Dana White doesn't like Woodley and doesn't think people want to see him. And it almost makes you wonder if maybe he was hoping he wouldn't win. I'm not trying to put words in Dana White's mouth, but I don't know. I think that Woodley did what he had to do in that fight and can be exciting when the right matchups. You know, styles do make fights, and you know, the right matchup is important. Hey, I want to ask your opinion on the other fight, but I do want to let you know that the Skype froze again, and it looks like for some reason maybe it's just because it's Temecula there or something, but something's wrong with that. So we're just putting a good picture of you that we found online, you know, there. So maybe we want to just turn off the video feed and keep the audio feed, Adam. So we're going to turn off the video feed rather than have a picture with your face frozen like you're talking. We're going to get rid of the video, but we're going to keep your audio and just have a really good picture of you above your name. Is that okay, Fernando?
Yeah, that's fine. There's just bad weather out here right now too, so.
Yeah, it could be. No, it's no problem at all. And I wish I wish there was equipment that could change it, but you know, it is what it is. Just the connection over there in Temecula. Okay, so let me ask you about the fight that you do have a strong opinion on. Really great fight, Daniel Cormier against John Jones. A fight Daniel Cormier was winning. I was at that fight, and both of them are amazing. I have friends over at Jackson Wink, and so they've said John is a great guy, and you know, I know some people that are loosely acquainted with DC, and they say he's also a great guy. But I was thinking Jones could win that fight, but I knew that Cormier would fight hard. But it looked like it was all going Cormier's way until the third round, and I know you were able to listen closely into the corner advice, and you have some opinions on what you heard and what went on and how that result came about. So let me know what you heard between rounds and what your thinking is about how things proceeded from there.
Well, the way I saw it was he was doing the right game plan.
Cormier.
Cormier was doing the right game plan because he was winning the first 2 rounds. But the way he was winning was by stretching John's reach. You know, he was making him actually throw these shots out. And, you know, he did get tagged in the knee a couple times. But it's one of those things, when you're fighting somebody that tall, you need to be able to fight them from the outside. One of the perfect examples that I like to explain it to guys is if a guy has a spear, you're not going to run at the spear. You know, he's going to catch you before him. Yep. You're going to have to let him throw that spear, avoid the spear, and then get after it. And that's what I did with Michael Page. I stretched him out, made sure that he was working and extending his arms instead of me just running at the guy and letting him get off the shot first. He's got the longer reach. What happened in the Cormier fight that I noticed, and that's when I knew Cormier loses the fight. In the third round, they say, you need to be first. They told him, you need to be first. That was the mistake. You have to let Jones, anybody that's that much reach, they have to throw first, and then you have to counter. Or be very, very technical in your slips and stuff. But Cormier is not a striker, you know, so I knew it hurt him because he had to listen to his corner's advice. You know, he's going off of what they're saying. But, you know, I know that's what made the difference in his fight. And I think he was doing everything great up until then. He stretched him out to that fourth.
Yeah.
I think he would have got the win.
It looked like that. And John Jones being kind of a long, lanky guy who's not necessarily skinny, but he's not the most strongly built guy, it looked like his punches just were not hurting Cormier at all, didn't it?
Well, yeah, he was too far out.
Yeah.
You know, where he had time to block, slip. He was at the right distance. You have to keep it on the outside of just outside of his jab reach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the only thing that you gotta have to worry about is the legs, because obviously your legs are longer than arms.
Right.
So that's all he really had to worry about. But at the same time, if he's forcing the kick, he has takedowns. That's where the takedowns come in.
Right.
And you know, so that just little things that I think would have been different for him to get the victory.
Yeah.
But
he just needed to keep doing what he was doing. That's all Cormier needed to do, huh?
Yeah, and plus the layoff. You know, whether people want to believe it or not, the layoffs are a factor. They happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like you're afraid to fight. It's just your timing is off.
Yeah.
You know, some of the things is off, and you can see that definitely when he fought Ovid and St. Preux, and now when he fought Cormier in the first couple rounds.
Yeah.
Until Cormier started stepping forward and got in the ring where he got hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I know you're right. That's exactly what it was. It just seemed like Jones's timing was off. He was getting hit. I mean, it's too bad that Cormier was so much shorter than him. Had he been a little bit taller and a little bit more reach, those shots could have even landed cleanly. But he still was reaching Jones. He was reaching him. He was hitting him hard. He's known to have a powerful punch, especially with his hooks. And, he was looking like he was just, denying Jones anything except for some oblique kicks, which he was prepared for, and some body shots, which which he was prepared for, it looked like. But yeah, just, he did get caught, but it's unfortunate. It did seem like you said, it seems like a coaching error. It really does. And but Jones is tough, and Jones able to pull off that high kick. You know what's funny, man, is I don't think Jones threw a high kick. Other than that, do you believe that was part of Jones's camp strategy? Because they are great strategists over at Jackson Wink. Do you think they told him, don't show DC any high kicks for the first couple rounds or so, and then we're going to try to nail him with one? I think he was almost even trying to say that. Or is that a weird strategy? Or do you think, he just didn't find an opening for high kicks? Or do you think he deliberately was not wanting to show him high kicks early on?
He didn't have the option for the high kick. It wasn't until Cormier stepped forward in that third round where he started closing the distance too much that it was there. If he would have threw the high kick when he had this, Cormier had time to see it, One thing that they did, they were smart, that once he did come forward and he started committing, they knew, they said it themselves, he dips to the right, and he, to avoid whatever strikes, he normally goes to that certain side. And so they were able to time the head kick, knowing that he did that. Had he kept the distance, it's almost impossible to land that. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
You have the time to see it coming.
Yeah.
And when you're that close in that range, you just didn't have the time to see it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it seems like in this instance, Jackson Wink outcoached AKA. Not that AKA is going to like to hear that, and not trying to rub salt in the wound, but it seems like in this case that was part of it. But an amazing fight. I like the respect that Jones showed DC, and saying that he always admired him, and that he always thought of DC as a champ, and DC conducting himself like that. And also, I think it's a shame, man, that so many people are ripping on DC, looking so sad and devastated. I think that, like I saw a fighter put on Twitter, the only people ripping him for looking that sad and devastated probably are people that are not professional fighters. Would you agree with that?
Of course. The saying is it's freaking throughout the years, blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah.
Tears is in there. You know what I mean? The tears come because you didn't get to accomplish your goal.
Yeah.
And he knows that he had it in the bag. He had it winning.
Yeah.
And that little mistake cost him the title and cost him the fight.
Yeah.
And everything that went into it, he went out of his character and had to kind of talk trash to this guy because he didn't like him.
Yeah.
And to, it just kind of added, I think that adds more to the loss, because now you talked all this trash.
Yeah.
And you get the results that you wanted.
Yeah.
That much more painful. But not to knock the coaching. That's one of the things that I try to say with these fighters. That at some point, you have to be able to be the game planner.
Right.
Cormier had to go off of somebody else's game plan, but that's the way they fight. That's the way they would have fought Jones. And the thing is DC's the one in there. So he was the one who should have been making by staying on the outside.
Yeah.
I try not to. It's not the best thing to commit just yet. Let me stretch him out to the 4th and 5th, and then I'll start coming forward. So it's not. You can't really blame on the coach because that's the way they fight.
Yeah.
As a fighter, you have to make that decision yourself when you're in there.
That makes sense, and I'm glad you said that because I think that I may have jumped the gun saying that that Jackson Wink beats AKA in that, because you're right, it was Daniel Cormier in there, and AKA has proven to be a great camp and an amazing fighter. So yeah, my bad on that, and also to make sure that you guys heard it wasn't Fernando Gonzalez that made that point. That Jackson Wink beat AKA. It was me that said that, and Fernando wasn't implying that, because the fighter does have a lot to do with it. So that's true. I agree with that. I appreciate you pointing that out. So yeah, that was interesting and really great analysis on that, man. I think a lot of people are so used to talking trash and just talking about the results that people didn't really break that down, man. And I really appreciate your insight on that breakdown, man. That was very, very good information.
Oh, no problem, man. You're around the game long enough, you start to see little habits, and that's one of the things I see right now. Still, and not to say that you don't need your team. You obviously need them to get you ready, push you, and all that. But once you're in there, you have to be confident in making your own decisions, because you're seeing something different that they're not seeing. They're seeing it from the outside, but you might be seeing something completely different, something that he might be setting up. And, you know, you have to be able to make that call yourself when you're in there. You can't always just rely on what they're going to tell you in the corner.
Yeah, makes sense.
You know, it'll hurt guys just like it hurt DC.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Well, I appreciate that great analysis. And I tell you what, with the great analysis like that, after your fighting career is over, I think you could actually be a guy that could be doing some commentary. Did you ever think about that?
I've another dream of mine. I definitely want to do that when I'm done.
Awesome.
One of the things, that's one of my favorite things, is that me and my family grew up watching boxing, and we would always break down fights and how they won, you know, the openings, and honestly, that's helped me out throughout my career now.
Awesome. Sounds good. Hey, I want to check on something technical with my producer, and he says whatever it was is resolved, so that's good. Okay. So, you know, I think that you do have a future in that, man, because that was a really, really, you know, good breakdown, and I hadn't seen anyone put that out on the internet, that illustration and that point, man. So definitely you know your game, and you trained with amazing people, and so I think you'd be a great commentator for sure. Speaking of commentary, what do you think about McGregor Mayweather? Love to hear the Menifee Maniacs breakdown on how you think that fight plays out.
All right. Well, everybody's calling me crazy because I keep dropping my 2 cents in this, but one, if it goes the distance, Conor wins. You know what I mean? There's no way this guy should have lasted that long. That's what everybody's saying. But in that, there's added pressure to Mayweather. You know what I mean? If Mayweather runs around and does what he normally does, he may get that unanimous decision or that decision. But everybody's pressuring him, saying, look, dude, there's no way this guy stands a chance with you. You need to go out there and knock him out. Plus all the stuff that they've been talking back and forth. I mean, if you don't say he's in his head, he pulled him out of retirement.
Right.
I mean, nobody's done that. Nobody, not Golovkin, not Triple G, nobody. Other than somebody that can run his mouth good, you know, obviously to him, that's how they see him as. But McGregor is a very, very smart fighter. He likes to get in your head and make you fight him. That's what he does to everybody. He starts running his mouth so well that you want to get in there and try to knock him out. And Mayweather's already saying, I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to knock you out. In order for him to knock him out, he has to come after Conor. That gives Conor the puncher's chance, which everybody's saying is the only way he has a chance, is a puncher's chance. Well, that's your puncher's chance. If the guy's coming after you to knock you out, and you got the same tool that he has, you're a bigger fighter, and you land that shot, you're probably going to win, or you have a big chance of winning. And I know that's Conor's game plan. He's sitting there running his mouth, getting him to try to fight him. The reason he's saying 4 rounds, because really he only has up 25 minutes worth of cardio.
Right.
If you don't know, if you've never fought, you know, the championship rounds, I know when I first fought my 4th and 5th round in MMA, it felt like I hit a brick wall. It was a whole different experience. So anything that he hasn't seen yet, anything that's over 25 minutes, then he's going to start to gas. So that's why he's saying he's going to finish it within 4. He's got to finish it within 4, or within that time limit, or he will gas and then lose. But if Mayweather's coming after him like he's getting him to say that he's going to, he has that chance to put him away. And obviously he's the bigger fighter. So if you don't think he has a chance, you know, I'm putting money on it.
I like it. So your feeling is that as long as Mayweather is aggressive and fights out of his normal comfort zone, and it's during that first 25 minutes, then McGregor could very well catch him.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. I think honestly that's what's going to happen, just because he's so badly in Mayweather's head with the trash talking with his dad, the jersey of the guy that, you know, did stuff with his wife. You know, it's all things that you almost cross the line, but like Connor says, he's the most. I wouldn't do that, but he says he's the most ruthless, and obviously, by doing that extra stuff to really get in under him to make him want to fight, and it makes Mayweather fight. It's going to be a very interesting night.
Yeah, that is a really, really good analysis, and I don't think I've heard exactly that analysis before. I've heard the people that say he was going to gas, but people didn't really go into detail so much as to why, and now it makes sense, because even though he can be training differently, whatever, for the last few months, for the last decade or however long since he's been doing MMA, even at a lower level, he's been training probably for a maximum of 5 rounds, and that distance could be kind of ingrained in him. So that's an interesting point. The one thing I can think of is that if Mayweather could kind of wrap his head around that as well and control himself and go after McGregor when it's past that 25-minute mark, that would be the smart strategy for Mayweather, wouldn't it?
It is, but at the same time, you become a punching bag when you do that. Look what Maidana did to him their first fight. You know, he put himself on the ropes and he was getting tagged up.
Interesting.
So it really depends on how much power Conor really does have with those 10-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
And but if Mayweather puts himself on the ropes, he's basically becoming a punching bag against somebody that I think is faster than Marcos Maidana. You know, Marcos Maidana is a great fighter, and he comes out and he swings for the fences. But I still feel Conor's a little bit more sharper on his punches and faster since they're straight. You know, they're not coming looping.
Right.
And he's a lefty. You know, you cut that angle, it sets up that left hand perfectly. And Mayweather does the rolling the shoulder thing where it leads that left cross open.
Right. Interesting.
So there's so many different variables that are going to play into this fight, but I honestly see Mayweather trying to knock him out.
Interesting. And, you know, and because I tell you what, I think we all know that if Mayweather loses that fight, that's going to be maybe the death knell of boxing. I mean, maybe not, and maybe the death knell of a sport that's been around for hundreds of years is maybe an overstatement or an exaggeration. But man, can you imagine the heat boxing is going to take if Mayweather loses that? And there's a lot of pressure on him. Do you think that pressure is gonna possibly be what might force Mayweather into a mistake or to rush him? The fact that he feels like he really has to win this fight for the sport of boxing.
I don't think that's going to bother him too much. I think it's more his inner circle. Just watching the Conor and Floyd Jr. or Senior going at it back and forth. He kind of ticked off Senior.
Yeah.
I mean, where Senior went in there to kind of
Can you repeat?
The one upset.
Right.
And
good. Repeat that.
And
go
ahead.
Sorry.
I was saying Mayweather Senior went in there at that press conference to try to ruffle up Conor McGregor's feathers to get him upset, and it ended up being the opposite way.
Yeah.
Where now you got Senior, the one who's training him or helping him, in his ear now, like, you got to knock him out. There's no way this guy can stand with you.
Right.
You know, so he's getting it not just from the fans, which he can block out, but he's getting it in his gym.
Yeah.
And he's getting it from the Showtime guys. They get that the one they kept calling the Weasel, the one that shut off his mic. All these guys, they're going to be in his ear, like, you can't let this guy beat you. And all that's the added pressure, because it's not so much the people that are on the outside that you can turn off your phone and not have to listen to.
Yeah.
But when they're in your camp, in your ear, it's going to get under your skin, or you're going to listen to that strategy that I can knock him out, I can beat him. But man, he hasn't fought in 2 years. If you don't think that time is going to be off a little bit,
yeah,
you know, once you're going live, it will.
Yeah.
And McGregor's seasoned.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's a great evaluation. I mean, I'm sure you know that 95% of everyone else can't see that possibly playing out that way. I see the merit in what you're saying. My producer here, Dr. Adam Rorta, was one of the 5% that does feel and has always felt that McGregor has a chance. But yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, I got to say the odds are against it. I've been following boxing and as well as MMA for many years. I had never thought about the things that you just pointed out, so it does make me think. Prior to that, I was thinking that there really isn't much of a chance. Still, conventional wisdom would probably say that Floyd should win this fight, but this is a really interesting concept that you pointed out. And for the people who feel that the odds should be much higher and that they're going to bet $5,000 to win $1,000 because it's a sure thing, this presents a little bit of doubt. So I think people that are thinking of betting rent money or money that they're not wanting to lose, you might want to listen to what Fernando Gonzalez just said, because it is possible that it goes that way. And so it's definitely going to be interesting. Well, I really appreciate that great evaluation, Fernando. And once again, let's shout out, we're talking about Bellator 182, your next fight, and that's gonna, where is that going to be in case people want to buy tickets?
It's in upstate New York, in Verona, New York.
Okay. And where can people go to get some Bellator tickets? Just Bellator.com or Ticketmaster or both or what?
I think both, but honestly, I always just send my people through Bellator.com, and it has where you can buy the tickets, and if you put code Gonzalez, then I get credit for them.
There we go. So you guys should do that, because Fernando Gonzalez is a really good guy. He's one of the nicest fighters that I've talked to. Totally friendly, respectful guy, super cool. And so, you know, he fights really hard. He's got a legendary camp there that he represents in Team Quest. And so if you guys want to get some tickets and they just put down Gonzalez or Fernando Gonzalez?
Just code Gonzalez.
Okay, do that. And that would be at Bellator.com if you want to buy tickets to the August 25th fights, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I also think A.J. McKee is going to be on there, and I think possibly Joey Davis, possibly maybe Kimbo Slice Jr., although he may be on a later card, but that card should be stacked. And just to have Fernando Gonzalez and Brennan Ward, as well as Chidi and Jaquani and Alexander Koreshkov, to me, makes that card stacked. So check it out. You guys should support, and Fernando's going to be fighting hard. I know you can do it. Keep the great training. Fernando will be cheering for you, and anytime you want to, again, man, let us know. We'll have you on the fight. We'll have you on the show, and I really look forward to a great fight, man. I know you can go out there and win it, and I'll be cheering for you.
Awesome, thank you, and I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for having me, and you know, I love giving my analysis on the fight. So anytime you want me, I'm here for you.
You got it. I appreciate it. We'll definitely have you again. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great night. Thanks. Bye-bye. And that was the Menifee Maniac, Fernando Gonzalez. Really great guy. Really sharp observation and analysis there that I really hadn't read online anywhere or even thought of that much myself. So very cool. Really appreciate him coming on, and definitely food for thought. His evaluation of the upcoming McGregor-Mayweather fight, as well as the recap he did on Jones versus Cormier. So we're going to come back with our final guest after these quick messages and word from our sponsors.
Hi, my name is David Fimbras with Boulevard Moving. We're a 5-star moving company here in Southern California with offices in Arizona and Nevada. We cover local, long-distance moving and your full storage needs.
Why choose Boulevard Moving? Well, that's simple. We offer 5-star ratings in local directories, information and guidance throughout the process, certified moving consultants, expert packers, and movers. 24/7 availability for moving and packing services. Highly recommended among the area's most prestigious realtors and estate managers. Our mission is to deliver superior customer service and to provide the highest level of quality workmanship for the physical movement of goods. We strive to maintain a level of communication that eliminates the stress and inherent concern people have when hiring a moving service, be it residential or commercial. Call us today at 844-274-0500 or visit www.boulevardmoving.com.
Founded in 1969, Fuji Sports is your #1 source for gis and grappling gear, specializing in superb customer service and high-quality judo and jiu-jitsu uniforms and competitive prices. Fuji Sports is a proud manufacturing partner with many established organizations throughout the world, and is also a proud sponsor of U.S. Olympians, BJJ World Champions, and MMA superstars. Fuji Sports offers gis, rash guards, t-shirts, backpacks, shorts, gloves, and more. Visit fujisports.com to buy or customize your own gear today.
Don't be acting so cool like you that wine. You fine, yeah you fine, and yeah I know that your shit tight. Damn right, but don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine. Poolside, late night, I know you're shining up moonlight. Damn right, I wanna know what you look like. Late night, I'm trying to see what you taste like. Damn right. Let a nigga holla at the right. Show you some finer things in life. You know I'ma do your fucking right.
Yeah. Look, I wanna get down with your hello girl. Little birdie told me you a bad little girl. Expensive taste, fine wine and pearls, but you best believe I'm finna rock that world. Skinny nigga from the west side. Couple bitches by the beach side. Blunt lit by the moonlight. Finna give it to you all night. Yeah.
So we play fight. We don't rest till the daytime. Playtime. Hey. Shorty on that drain, attitude on real stain. He take it to the bank, he don't give you what you like. I know what you like, I know you can write like bite. You fuck with me, fuck the hype, give it to you like it's mine, yeah.
And we both like designer. Best friend, go reminder. Lost your mind on the island.
Where's up?
Did you ever go find her?
Okay.
Ever had a nigga shoot straight?
That's me.
Did you own this new slate?
Yeah, wrong,
Little baby on the new way.
Okay.
Sipping wine with the Kool-Aid.
Let's get it.
Show you some finer things in life. You know I'ma do your fucking right. Give it to you, it ain't even mine. You fine, yeah you fine, and yeah I know that your shit tight. Damn right, but don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine. You fine, yeah you fine, and yeah I know that your shit tight. Damn right, but don't be acting so cool like you that wine. Cool like you that wine.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
Dig game so good, she talk crazy to me. She said, nigga, you could try, but ain't no leaving me. Hold up, big deal, baby, yeah, I give her the D. When I put it in the stump, she like, oh, you're killing me. If I go to jail, mama gon' pay the bill. Sag this game so good, I should put it for sale. I'ma feed you to my bedroom, that's the beast to me. The mother niggas on the jack, but she on me. Champagne on chill. D baby, I'm drill. Lil' mama, what's the deal? Pussy wet like a whip. Beat it up, Holyfield. Smoking cookies, Mrs. Phil. Grown man in the field. Baby girl, what's the deal?
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
I drag it through the dirt like I'm parrying it. I'm a player, baby, I ain't mad shit. You can ride with a nigga down the coast, though, but please don't stuff both hoes. She on that Montana, that's the coke boy. She said it makes the demons come out. She gets freakier with her mouth. She likes deep throated with no doubt. Hey, she back on the shift, singing like whips. I bust in her mouth, now she gurgling shit. I'm a pimp by blood, not coincidence. I'm like a bad bitch, blindfold, trust a pimp. I'm leaning to the side, looking for a bad bitch to find. My eyes on the prize, I'm wildin' tonight. Don't try to stop me now. My grind is on the rise. Your bitch is on the side. And I'm sliding her tonight. I'm sliding her tonight. Ooh. Wow.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
Too handsome. He's too handsome for Hollywood. He's too sexy. He's too sexy for his own good. This is the King of Connecticut, Matt Granahan, host of The King's Court, telling you to go to the Amazon Kindle store and pick up a copy of my new book, Too Handsome for Hollywood. The world according to the suntan Superman. With the foreword by the UFC Hall of Famer Dan the Beast Severn. He's too handsome. He's too handsome for Hollywood. He's too sexy. He's too sexy for his own good. Yeah. $9.99. Pick it up today. Too Handsome for Hollywood. The Amazon Kindle store. You'll be glad you did.
Get ready for FanFlow, the ultimate way to experience live music. With FanFlow, you become a part of the show. Connect and share with fellow fans who love the music as much as you. Control what you hear, control what you see, and record it so you can relive those amazing performances wherever and whenever you want. Before the show, you decide the playlist and interact with the venue. During the show, you share your experience, buy what you're hearing, and hear what you want. FanFlow gives you the superpowers you wish you could have at a live performance so you become a part of the experience and connect with your favorite performers.
Welcome back to the MMA Power Hour. So glad you guys are back with us. We have a fantastic final segment, and we are talking about the son of the legend, the late great Kimbo Slice, and we're talking about Mr. Kimbo Slice, or Baby Slice, Kimbo Slice Jr., and also officially known as Kevin Ferguson Jr. However, we are wanting to make sure we can connect with him. We were going to also have his coach and our good friend and my co-host of the MMA Power Hour Super Sessions, Antonio McKee, come on so he could give us some insight on what they're doing with Kimbo Slice Jr. And there was a little bit of a mix-up as far as coordinating locations and Skypes with them, so our staff is working on that under the leadership of the great Dr. Adam Rorda. And Dr. Rorda is roaring like a lion with excitement, and we're getting positive roars back from Kimbo Slice Jr. and from Antonio McKee, but we're trying to make it happen. So in the meantime, I'll talk a little bit, and we're going to hopefully have both of them on with us in the next several minutes. So what do you guys think about all the great fights on UFC 214? I was there. It was so loud. I didn't realize how good my new iPhone was as far as being able to pick up sound. If I had, I would have just talked normally and not put my face right up in the camera on my phone, looking kind of ridiculous. But for comedic effects and for people that like me already, I think you probably enjoyed it. There are 3 videos that I went live for about 2 to 4 minutes each from UFC 214. Some of the funnier stuff that I've done as far as going live, but I enjoyed looking at them, and some people that like me and that are fans of the show said it was pretty cool, and a little bit of humor I think a lot of us fight fans have. So if you want to watch some interesting and fun live videos, go check out 3 short live videos that I did right from UFC 214. It was cool. I was not in the worst seats in the house, but definitely not in the best seats, but really enjoyed myself, and you know, the matchups were great. You know, running around, met a few people that were fans and friends of the show. I'm really glad to have met them, and you know, really exciting. One thing I can tell you though is I do think that a couple of the judges' decisions were off. I honestly I can't see how in that first female fight Albu beat Colin Curran. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. I mean, not that I'm saying I'd be the most perfect judge in the world, but that was crazy. You know, and like Angie Overkill Hill, Angela Hill said, I think on Twitter, you know, that's the face of the winner. How would her face look after fighting me? I like that. I saw that retweeted by some really good top fighters. But yeah, Colin Curran earned that win. I sure hope she doesn't get cut off of that loss, because that was a ripoff. She busted up the newcomer Albu and clearly won that fight. Then on to the Robbie Lawler versus Cowboy fight, and I thought Lawler was going to come out looking really polished and you know, unfortunately start wearing Cowboy down and start busting him up, and he did not. He did come out really, really strong. Cowboy weathered the storm, bit down on his mouthpiece, and then started picking Lawler apart. Some people told me they thought that was a razor close decision, that Robbie clearly won the first round and may have won the third or second or whatever. My opinion, I shouldn't say whatever and make a face, because I'm not the be-all end-all of knowledge of scoring, but I have scored tons of fights. I used to write down the scores on paper for like literally 50 or 100 fights over a period of a couple years, or less than that even. And I don't know. Robbie Lawler won the opening stanza of that first round. I think Cowboy came back, and that could have been a draw round. And then I had Cowboy winning both the second and the third round clearly. Cowboy's an experienced guy. He was smiling. His hand was in the air. He knew he had won that fight, and they announced the winner, Robbie Lawler. That, to me, you know, that sucks. Robbie's a great fighter. He looked like he was the last, maybe short notice didn't help him. The fact that he had a little bit of ring rust and his cardio may not have been 100% on point. He may have had some injuries to deal with, as all fighters do. To an extent, he may have had some really bad injuries to deal with. But he came out really hard and really fast, because I think he felt he didn't have more than a couple minutes in him. And not only that, but Cowboy fought the fight that I was saying on the show, and with several other other people and fighters agreed with me in the previous weeks. He gave him a ton of angles. He didn't just keep his head and his chin up or stick it out. He didn't do a ton of head movement because that's not really his style, but I think he did more head movement than usual and gave Robbie a lot of angles. It was an amazingly well fought fight. Great coaching by the people at Jackson Wink, our friends, and great gut check that Cowboy absolutely passed and went on and absolutely should have been given the win, in my opinion, although I do like Robbie Lawler and I do respect him, and I'm absolutely a fan of of where he's done a lot of training, ATT, and where he started with Miletich, and Pat's a friend of our show, so Pat probably wouldn't love to hear me saying this. Sorry, Pat. Nothing against Robbie Lawler. Robbie is an awesome athlete, but I think he just wasn't. I don't think he was really sharp or really prepared for that fight for whatever reason, and I think Cowboy beat him with all respect. Anyway, so Cormier and Jones. Cormier is getting a lot of heat for looking really sad and essentially on the verge of crying. And I don't know. To be honest with you, like Fernando Gonzalez just said, if you've literally been there and put the blood, sweat, and tears into your career and trained so hard like these top professional fighters do and wanted to win so much and just literally struggled and suffered through injury and weight cutting and doubters and all kinds of bullshit and pain and injury and everything to prove a point like he wanted to prove that he was the better man in the cage than John Jones, like he was the legitimate champion and like he had improved and could improve off of that first performance, and then to have fallen short, that would be devastating. And so I just I'm all behind 100% behind DC's emotions after just being knocked out and waking up to realize that you were doing really well, you were winning a fight, and then you lost, and at 38 or 39 years old, he may not get that fight back. So that just all respect to DC, and don't think there's anything wrong with how his natural reaction was. Not only that, even Joe Rogan said going to talk to a fighter who had just been knocked out isn't something he wants to do. It kind of sucks. I'm not going to put down Joe Rogan for that. I didn't like Joe Rogan pointing out to Tyron Woodley that it was the least amount of punches thrown in a title fight or whatever. That I didn't like. But him saying that he hates to go to a fighter that's just been knocked out, but talking to Cormier, I'm okay, because Cormier has proven to be a really great analyst and one of the go-to people for UFC recap shows and UFC Tonight and whatever the other ones are called. And I think he just figured, Daniel is such a well-spoken guy that maybe he'll be able to share something here. And he did, but it wasn't really the time. It wasn't really the time. I don't know. I all you listeners, men and women, how great an interview would you be after you just got knocked out and fell short in one of the biggest goals of your life, to beat someone and then fall short? Wouldn't have been the best face probably on any of us. So I have a lot of respect for DC. And I like the fact that John showed a lot of respect for DC as well. John looks different. John looks more mature with his head shaved and without his beard, and he doesn't quite have as much of a baby face as he used to years back. He's starting to look a little bit different. It's interesting. Looks almost like a brother or cousin of the other John Jones with the big messy hair and beard and other stuff. So I was like, man, that John Jones looks almost like his cousin or something like that. But no, Jones is looking more mature at 30 years old. That's a great age for an athlete, especially a fighter in the heavier weight class where they can actually go to 37 or 42 or 3. And so Jones is probably right on when he says he's in his prime. And it's going to be tough. Calling out Brock Lesnar. What do you guys think of that? Jones against Brock Lesnar. And Jones was really forthcoming and matter of fact in the press conference when they asked him why Lesnar. And he said, he's been hearing the talk about it, and he thinks it's a winnable fight. And if you really think about it, think of the breakdown. They're both great wrestlers. Brock definitely the more decorated wrestler, but Brock is 40 now, I think, or close, and Jones is 30. the pedigree of Brock is way better, but Jones is absolutely like a prodigy of wrestling, really, really good, and 10 years younger. The striking of Jones is very good. Brock's striking was never very good. And you know, the fans that could bring in, like John said, could be really exciting for the fans, and the money and the attention it would bring for crossover fans to our sport. I don't know if I see that happening, though. I don't know if Brock wants that fight, and I wonder if it's at heavyweight. I guess it would be. And like John said, come down and you know, see how you do against the guy 40 pounds lighter than you. So Jones thinking of coming in 225-ish, 230. Brock will have to make 265, probably cutting from 280 or something like that. Interesting matchup, and I have all respect for all of them. I don't like to talk trash because I'm not a professional fighter. Not that you have to be to talk trash, but I respect the fighters a lot. I know that that Brock Lesnar has had some problems with substances that weren't supposed to be in his system. And I know wrestling allows that. Not only that, all the slams that they take and the stunts that they're doing and dramatic injuries that professional wrestlers have doing some of that crazy shit. You know, I have a feeling the steroids are helping some of them continue to have a career. I'm sure it is. And not to try to earn an advantage because those fights are scripted anyway, but just to be able to save them from having to retire and just deal with the pain and help, you know, recovery be quicker. So it's like he's needing to do that in his career as a big time wrestler, pro wrestler, and then to have to get off of it all. It's just, you know, maybe something that will be difficult. And if he was allowed to take whatever he needed, I think it could be a tough fight. If he's not, and it has to test 100% clean, then I don't know. I think John Jones can absolutely say that fight is winnable for him. I don't know if that fight's gonna happen. It'd be interesting to see. I think people are thinking, though, that if Jones is kind of liking the idea of heavyweight, how about, you know, Cain Velasquez, or how about he sees if he can win 2 titles like Conor McGregor and go against Stipe Miocic. Although I don't think he wants to do that. Not that he's scared of anyone, but I think Stipe Miocic, that would be a hell of a fun fight, especially with Jones tuned up again from that DC fight and getting rid of the ring rust. That would be actually amazing. But I will say this, though, I do think that that's a very hard fight for John Jones. Stipe is just as tall as he is a naturally bigger and thicker man. Is as good a wrestler and may not be as tricky a striker with as many kicks and different angles, but absolutely punches dramatically harder than John Jones. So maybe we'll see that someday soon. I don't know, but that would be an interesting fight. Or maybe Jones against Alistair Overeem or Verdum or someone. You know, going to be definitely interesting. Anyway, we were wanting to see if we can get Kimbo Slice Jr. Antonio McKee, and I really do want to check with my producer here. Is there any word that you're seeing, Adam, from Antonio McKee?
We're waiting on the Skype ID.
Okay, so for Kimbo Slice Jr., you're not going to have that unless I do it. Okay, so let me go over here. Okay, so we're coordinating this to get you what we promised we'd get you guys, and here we go. Okay, so what we're going to try to do is get this Skype ID for Kimbo Slice Jr. He was originally going to be at Antonio McKee's, and something came up, so we're not blaming anyone, but we did have everything organized well. And our usual connection with Antonio McKee, and something did come up where Kimbo Slice Jr. did have to leave, and so we're having to coordinate him being somewhere else, and I don't think he frequently Skypes a lot, and so we're going to try to make that happen. So let me think of what else. A great win by Ricardo Lamas. One of the things that's so tricky nowadays is betting on MMA. Jason Knight was really setting the world on fire in his last several fights, and a lot of people, I think, felt that Ricardo Lamas may be a little bit past his prime, past his peak, and maybe ripe for losing a fight to an up-and-comer, Jason Knight. I believe Knight was a slight favorite as well. I had a feeling that wouldn't go that way. I went live and predicted Ricardo Lamas. Didn't know he would catch him that soon. But Lamas, I looked angry in that fight. He looked like I said in one of my live videos, that he was saying, man, all this talk where people are predicting Jason Knight is going to beat me. He's beaten 4 guys that are unranked or not top 10 ranked, and then he's going to come in here and beat me like I'm a gatekeeper. It looked to me like Lamas was really focused and a little bit angry in that fight. It was not about to lose to Jason Knight, but I will give Jason Knight this. Man, he has a strong chin. He got clocked, and he was still there. His eyes did look a little bit glassy. I think probably like mine a little bit, but mine's from being tired, not from being hit really hard in the jaw. But he hung in there, man. That was amazing. And the one thing that he could have used is if Ricardo wasn't such a veteran and did decide to go all out and try to unload on him, that could have given Jason a chance to recover if Ricardo had gone and gassed. But Ricardo was absolutely, his strategy was absolutely veteran strategy, and remaining completely composed, realizing that he hit Knight as hard as he could, and it didn't really seem to completely take Knight out of his game. And so he was like, all right, I just got to be focused and keep on smashing this guy and keep on hitting him in the chin. And he was really patient and kept on laying it on him and kept on pounding him, and was able to take him out. So that was impressive. Ricardo Lamas is a top guy, and I think not that Jason Knight couldn't win if they fought 10 times, but I think he may not be quite at that level, or may have underestimated Lamas a little bit there. The fight that surprised me was Oezdemir, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but against Jimmy Manawa. I knew someone that really didn't like Jimmy Manawa, and I like Jimmy Manawa, and I put I think $20 on Manawa to win that fight, and I was pretty surprised when my fighter got smoked in the first minute. I think they were throwing punches, and Oezdemir landed first. So he's a good striker. He's a rugged, tough guy from Switzerland. I think a lot of people think of him as a Russian or something like that, or other people told me that they thought a Russian fighter, but it looks like he's Swiss. Not that it matters, but interesting. Not too many Swiss fighters, but he is a very, very tough guy. And now I think he's going out on social media saying John Jones needs to know who he is. I don't know if he's going to skip over Alexander Gustafsson, or he should. I don't think he should. Maybe they should fight. I don't know. I think people want to see Jones-Gustafsson again after that great fight, which a lot of people felt that Gustafsson deserved to win. I like John Jones and my friends over at Jackson Wink. I will admit, I think that back then I did feel that Gustafsson may have just edged Jones on points. Although I could have been wrong, but that was kind of my thought, although at that point I wasn't a huge fan of Jones, so I was kind of thinking that Gustafsson winning would be exciting. But that would be a great rematch. I really think so, and I think that Gustafsson has looked in some regards like he may have faded a little bit since then, but I think he'd be tremendously motivated in fighting for the title, and I think he has to do that. Now forgive me if I'm forgetting if he's scheduled to fight someone else. He might be, and if so, my bad for forgetting about that. I wasn't preparing to kind of do some freestyle here during this last segment. So I didn't really have notes on what I'm talking about now, but nevertheless, I do think that Jones-Gustafsson could be a really interesting match, and I think it could be as exciting as before. Maybe not. Love to have you guys' opinion. If you want to chime in and shoot something at me here on Facebook, let me know how you guys think Gustafsson against Jones would go down if they fought 3 or 4 months from now, or if you think Gustafsson does deserve that matchup. Because I do, and then perhaps Oezdemir next. And I remember I was talking about a fighter when I went live, and I couldn't remember his name, and it was Ovince St. Preux. I think St. Preux fought a very tough fight against Oezdemir. Excuse me, and I think I felt that St. Preux deserved to win that fight. So I don't know. It's a long day for me, so I'd have to revisit that to be sure. But it's interesting. The judging is questionable, but it definitely helps lead people to where they're going, based on the judging. Dr. Rorta, are we about to get Antonio McKee or Kimbo Slice Jr.?
No, we're waiting on the Skype.
Okay, so we're going to.
We can just wrap it up.
Okay, so it looks like we're not going to do that, and we're not going to talk to Antonio either. You would feel. Okay, let's see. We're finding out something right now, ladies and gentlemen, because we love to bring on all our guests. We've had great success in bringing on guests, each and every one that has advertised that we've advertised to be with us, and we know that we want to make this happen, and I think we are about to make it happen. So. Through the magic of Antonio McKee, our friend putting a supreme effort to connect with Kimbo Slice Jr., Dr. Adam Rorta doing his thing, and your host, Colin Crandall, doing my thing, not tapping out yet. I think we may just get Kimbo Slice Jr., and that should be infinitely possible. It would be wonderful if we were able to get Kimbo Slice Sr. if he was still with us in this world. Very sadly, he isn't. I think all of you know. But Kimbo Slice Jr., we'd love to get him. He's a very nice young man, and I have met him once before. Would really love to talk to him, and have you guys have a chance to talk to Kimbo Slice Jr., a.k.a. Baby Slice, a.k.a. Kevin Ferguson Jr. And it looks like we are working on that over here. So what I'm going to do is think of something else interesting to say here to you guys. So some interesting fights. Don't forget about Invicta. Invicta has some good fights coming up. They've got Raquel Pahalui going up against Yana Kunitskaya for the Invicta bantamweight 135-pound title, vacated by Tanya Evinger when she was signed by the UFC. That fight, I believe, is going to be August 31st and in the Tachi Palace arena, and I'm going to be there. So I look forward to that a lot, and we're going to see that fight. And then the co-main event is our guest from a few weeks ago, the fantastic Jody Esquibel, the girlfriend of the great fighting legend Keith the Dean of Mean Jardine, and she is going to be going up against Livia Hanata Souza, who has been absolutely a killer in that division. And so now we're hearing music. What does this say? Okay, so Kimbo Slice there. Are you okay? So Dr. Rorta sees what we need to see, I believe, and he's going to respond. So I don't know why we have music now, but maybe this sounds better. Yeah. Dr. Rorta thinks I would sound better with a little bit of music. This is like, I think I'm hip and I'm cool now here. Anyway, not that I'm not, or maybe I'm not. I think I am pretty much, but so we got some cool music here. Let me rock down the music a little bit here. Awesome. That probably looks stupid as hell. Anyway, so we're working on getting Kimbo on here. Anyway, Invicta, Escobel against Souza, and Kunitskaya against Pahalui. Two title fights on the same night, August 31st, on Fight Pass or in Tachi Palace in California. That means that for those of you who were always watching the Invicta fights at the Scottish Rites Temple in, I think it was Kansas City, Missouri, and thinking, man, I want to see these Invicta fights live. I can't get over to Missouri. If you're in California or the West Coast, here's your chance to get over and watch some Invicta fights live. If you want to go there, you can even say hello to me. I know it'd be a lot more exciting if some of these amazing girls would come out and say hello to you as well and shake hands with you, or give you a hug, or hang out and have a hot dog. But hey, instead of them, you get your host of the MMA Power Hour, Colin Crandall. I don't want to hug anyone, but I'll give handshakes and we can hang out and have a hot dog or a beer or whatever, although I may be the designated driver or maybe not. We'll see, and that would depend on that. I'm not the huge beer drinker of all time, but I will have a couple once in a while. Anyway, so that should be great. August 31st, we'll talk more about that. Other great fighters. We do have a great rapport with Invicta, and we have had Jody Escobel. As you know, we have had Tara La Rosa, who fought for Invicta also a while back, and I think she's still welcome at Invicta, and she's going to be fighting a couple other places soon. We did have the other awesome Invicta fighters, and Jody, of course, is awesome. But look at Jody Escobel. We had Andrea KGB Lee 3 times, a friend of our show. We had Megan Anderson, Tanya Evinger twice, and Amanda Bobby Cooper. So we're Invicted out here. We love Invicta, and they are interested in getting us more fighters, including matchmaker I can't believe I'm blanking on her name. Caitlin Young, matchmaker Caitlin Young, commentator Julie Kedzie. I've been a big fan of both of those ladies for quite a while. Possibly Shannon Knapp as well. I'm saying possibly, and it's popping here, so let me stop doing that. I'll say that further away. So possibly Shannon Knapp, Julie Kedzie, Caitlin Young. We'd love to have on Roxanne Modafferi, several other fighters there from Invicta. We are getting cooperation from them and being told that we are going to have them on upcoming shows very soon. Remember, we're taking a 2-week hiatus, so our next show should be August 23rd, and we can't announce the fighters yet on that, but we will in social media at least a few days or probably a whole week before that. So remember, no MMA Power Hour. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of break here. Take a little bit of a break. We're going to take a break here, and we will be back with Kimbo Slice Jr. and possibly Antonio McKee with him. Back after this brief message.
Hi, my name is David Fimbras with Boulevard Moving. We're a 5-star moving company here in Southern California with offices in Arizona and Nevada. We cover local, long-distance moving and your full storage needs.
Why choose Boulevard Moving? Well, that's simple. We offer 5-star ratings in local directories, information and guidance throughout the process, certified moving consultants, expert packers, and movers. 24/7 availability for moving and packing services. Highly recommended among the area's most prestigious realtors and estate managers. Our mission is to deliver superior customer service and to provide the highest level of quality workmanship for the physical movement of goods. We strive to maintain a level of communication that eliminates the stress and inherent concern people have when hiring a moving service, be it residential or commercial. Call us today at 844-274-0500 or visit www.boulevardmoving.com.
Founded in 1969, Fuji Sports is your #1 source for gis and grappling gear, specializing in superb customer service and high-quality judo and jiu-jitsu uniforms at competitive prices. Fuji Sports is a proud manufacturing partner with many established organizations throughout the world, and is also a proud sponsor of U.S. Olympians, BJJ World Champions, and MMA superstars. Fuji Sports offers gis, rash guards, t-shirts, backpacks, shorts, gloves, and more. Visit fujisports.com to buy or customize your own gear today.
Get ready for FanFlow, the ultimate way to experience live music. With FanFlow, you become a part of the show. Connect and share with fellow fans who love the music as much as you. Control what you hear, control what you see, and record it so you can relive those amazing performances wherever and whenever you want. Before the show, you decide the playlist and interact with the venue. During the show, you share your experience, buy what you're hearing, and hear what you want. FanFlow gives you the superpowers you wish you could have at a live performance so you become a part of the experience and connect with your favorite performers.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad little tune from the south side. Oh yeah. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
Dick game so good, she talk crazy to me. She said, nigga, you could try, but ain't no leaving me. Hold up, big deal, baby, yeah, I give her the D. When I put it in the stump, she like, oh, you're killing me. If I go to jail, mama gon' pay the bill. Sagas game so good, I should put it for sale. I'ma feed you to my barrel, that's the beast to me. The mother niggas on the jack, but she on me.
the drill. Lil' mama, what's the deal? Pussy wet like a wheel. Beat it up, Holyfield. Smoking cookies, Mrs. Phil. Grown man in the field. Baby girl, what's the deal?
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Lil' mama with a bad lil' too from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
I drag it through the dirt like I'm pairing it. I'm a player, baby, I ain't man shit. You can ride with a nigga down the coast, though, but please don't stuff both hoes. She on that Montana, that's the coke boy. She said it makes the demons come out. She gets freakier with her mouth. She looks deep, throated with no doubt. Hey, she back on the shift, stinging like whips. I bust in her mouth, now she gurgling shit. I'm a pimp by blood, not coincidence. I'm like a bad bitch, blindfold, trust a pimp. I'm leaning to the side, looking for a bad bitch to find. My eyes on the prize, I'm wildin' tonight. Don't try to stop me now. My grind is on the rise. Your bitch is on the side. And I'ma slide in her tonight. I'ma slide in her tonight. Ooh. Wow.
Stay turned up with a young fly nigga from the west side. Oh yeah. Lil' mama with a bad lil' too from the south side. Hey, back it up, drop it down. Say she wanna wear my crown. First I gotta take it down. Drive that shit into the ground.
First, I'm going to address the audience. And welcome back to the MMA Power Hour. So glad you guys stayed with us. We weren't going to end this show without this much anticipated guest. He is an amazing guy, the son of the late, great Kimbo Slice that we all miss, who was known as one of the most amazing, nice people and determined, tremendous athletes in our sport of MMA. And we're so glad to have his son with us. We're talking about Kimbo Slice Jr., also known as Baby Slice, officially Mr. Kevin Ferguson Jr. Welcome to the show, Kimbo Slice Jr.
Thank you, guys.
We're really happy to have you, man. How's everything been going?
Everything's good, man. Just been in the gym twice a day, training, getting it in, you know.
Absolutely. It's pretty much all about training, eating, sleeping, getting up, and more training, isn't it?
Right. Yep. That's all it is. That's all I do.
That's cool, man. And you're training over there with Team Body Shop with under the tutelage of Antonio McKee, right?
Yep. That's right.
And that is our good friend. He's an amazing coach, isn't he?
I think he's one of the best coaches in MMA, honestly, and inside the ring and outside the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a very, very nice man. He's my co-host for the MMA Power Hour Super Sessions. We're going to be doing a lot more of those coming up, and so we're really happy to be associated with him. And you have some amazing guys in there, man. You have some killers, AJ McKee and Joey Davis, Black Ice, and then you got Brandon Halsey. You got who else do you have over there other than those three guys? You got a couple more guys too, right?
We have Aaron Pico now.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, he joined with us, and Anthony Taylor. You know, he's another Bellator fighter. And I have a bunch of amateurs too. You know, that's up and coming. So we have a nice little team.
Excellent. And you've been there for what, about a year now or so?
Yeah, it's been a year exactly. You know, 1 year. My game has improved a lot. You know, for the past year.
Absolutely. And so, how many years have you been doing MMA training? You only been at it for a year or two, or you've been training a little bit before that?
I've been at it for a year without, anything else, just focusing on MMA and MMA only, eat, sleep, and, I live MMA. Everything I do right now is about training and getting better in mixed martial arts,
That's excellent. Were you over with Antonio McKee while your dad was still with us, or was that after your dad passed?
It was funny because it was like the first month I was here, And within that, being here, that's when everything all happened,
Right. What did your dad feel about you being over there at Antonio McKee's Team Body Shop? He must have been happy.
Yeah, he liked it. He thought it was a great place to be out here training. He wanted to actually with coach, and he couldn't because he had a family of 6 and a wife back home, so he couldn't really make the move to move everybody out here because he was, we was all in school, we was young, and that's where we grew up. So he had to just, do it himself in Florida.
Yeah,
it was his idea for me to come over and train with, coach, me and him together.
That's cool. That would have been great, man. I'm sorry you didn't get the chance to do that. He was an amazing guy. Not to spend all your time talking about your dad, but I'm sure you don't mind. Right? He was just an amazingly nice person and an amazingly charismatic man. And it's funny because if you look at those early fights that he did in the street, man, he looked like he was just a beast. He was just smashing people.
Right.
But
yeah.
even back during those days, was he still a chill, laid-back guy with a good sense of humor, or did that come a little bit later in life for him?
No, and nothing really changed, honestly. I could say when he actually became, Kimbo Slice and got all the fans, he became more strict, because at any given time, anything happened where you probably could lose it all. So it was more like strict, more tough, more tough love at this point.
Right. So he was always, before that easygoing guy with a good sense of humor, huh?
Right, yeah, for sure.
Except for when he was fighting in the backyard or in an MMA fight.
Right. That's what he said. You got to know when to turn it on and turn it off, and we know how to turn it on when it's time to.
Yep, I remember in an interview, I forget which fight it was for, but he was saying when he's at home with family, he's Kevin Ferguson.
Right.
And when he's in the ring, or in the cage, or fighting, he's Kimbo Slice.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So that's cool. He was a great guy, huh?
Sure. Yeah.
God bless him. God bless him. So you're carrying on in his tradition. Are there some things that you're doing that you think are similar? Like I think essentially striking is your preference, like his. Is it not, or are you looking at liking all the wrestling and the grappling and jiu-jitsu equally as well?
It's equal for me. Honestly, I feel like I'm more dangerous on the ground. And not saying dangerous as a jiu-jitsu fighter or going for submissions. I'm dangerous as ground and pound. That's what I love. Honestly, I love being close to this person, controlling him, and ground and pounding and doing as much damage as possible. Like, I feel like you could get lucky on the feet. Anyone can get lucky when they throw in a punch.
Yep.
But on the ground, you have to know what you're doing. That's when it's how you. And that's what I love. That's my preference is the ground.
That makes sense. Well, and that's cool. That's unique. So that anyone thinking they're going to see exactly your dad coming at them is going to be in for a big surprise with some ground.
No, they will. They will on their feet for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little more faster and I'm a little more technical on the feet than he was, which what he wanted. He wanted me to be better than him.
Yeah.
But if someone tried to take me down, they're gonna be in for a rude awakening. My dad didn't really like training the ground. I love it.
Right, that's cool, and I'm sure he would like you to love it because you need to have that balance.
That's why I wrestled in high school, because of that.
Excellent. I didn't know that. So you do have some wrestling background.
Oh yeah.
Nice. Well, then you're at a great camp, man. And I'm really high on Antonio McKee's camp, not just because I know him and he's a co-host. We're co-hosting the show, but man, I've always been impressed with Antonio McKee. I'm a little bit of an older guy myself, and I was watching when he was competing back then in all the shows in the International Fight League all over the place, in Canada, and different places. And that streak he had was amazing. And even to hear Tyron Woodley mention that, did you see what Tyron said in my show with Antonio from I think it was the 19th, the 18th of July. He said he's never. He said Antonio McKee had the strongest grip out of any man he's ever met.
That was about right. I have to deal with that every day in practice.
That's amazing. And and for you to say that is big, and for Tyron Woodley to say that, you know what I mean? That's got to be something serious. Because
you will have to roll with him to see it. It's more just than saying it. We could. Means nothing, but when you actually roll with him and you feel it, then you're like, okay, I understand.
Right. You get it clear then, and that's cool. And so it's good that you have him there and your style and being able to do something on the ground. I like that, man. And so you're competing now at what, 155?
Oh, my next fight I'm going to be at 155 November.
And before you were at what, 170?
165.
That's right. You were kind of in between.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about that movement now, that not even a movement, but the fact that MMA has agreed to implement these weight classes, including 65? Once that's in, would that be your plan to go right back to 65?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. I love 65. Well, I'm not sure. I feel like 155, the guys, I would knock those guys out easier than a 155er, A 165er will take a couple before they go down, but a 155er, they're immediately. I'm gonna hurt those guys at 155.
I like it.
But honestly, it doesn't matter to me. 165, 155, those that range right there. It's what I like. I'm okay with either or. Very cool. And I remember the last time I saw you, I met you in person. We were checking out another show, and you were talking about possibly being on the Bellator card in Dublin. Has anything been confirmed on that? We're working on that right now. I feel like they think it's true that I'm a better draw overseas, with the fans.
Yep.
I don't mind fighting overseas, getting it in over there. Cool with me. Especially if the fans love me over there.
Nice.
And they love me out of the United States, so it works for me.
That would be cool. And what's interesting, because AJ is confirmed on the card in New York, though, on the 25th. Am I right?
Davis, yep.
And Joey Davis, right? That makes sense. Because I know that had they made AJ on that card in Dublin, that would have had to have been against Gallagher, and I think they're wanting to kind of hold off a little bit till that next fight. But so you might be the lone representative of Team Body Shop.
If these guys make it quick, they have that 3-month window for the next fight, so they could be ready part as well. You know, you never know.
That'd be cool. I'd like that, because then you guys can go out there together in Ireland, huh?
Right, exactly.
Very cool. Well, that's cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that and seeing your next fight, man. I think you got something really good going for you there, and you know, I just think
be way more impressive than I was my last fight. You know, I'm gotten better already, so I can just imagine within the next 3 months what I'm be capable of and what I'm gonna be doing out there. So,
yep.
You know, get ready.
For sure. And are you getting a lot of love online, or are you getting the equal amount of the haters, or what are you getting, just so that we can hear what the reality is, not with us not having access to your social media?
I get it. I get a little bit of both, but now I'm getting more of the loyal fans. You know.
Cool. And that must be good. And
they're always going to be haters, no matter what.
That's true. No, you can't let that bother you, right?
I'm not laugh at those guys.
I like it. And so the people behind you, does that matter to you, or you're not worrying too much about fan interaction?
For all the fans who like me, and yeah, I like all the good fans. You know, even the bad fans. You know, that's more views for me. So
yep.
I like everyone. Just tune in. That's all I say.
I like that. And you're at a good age now. I think you're, what, 25 or 26?
25. Yep, 25.
That's a good age, man. So, you know, I'm excited. You're going to do some good things. And the hard training is, in the last year or so, has that gotten more comfortable for you now? Or were you always very comfortable with the really hard training over under Antonio McKee and his other students?
Well, I haven't. Well, he's my first coach, so I guess now all I know is the hard training at this point.
Okay, and that's a good thing. And that doesn't have you bothered. You're all right with all this hard training, right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm cool with it. Yep.
I like that. Looks like it, man. Looks like you're in a good state of mind. You probably just trained hard a couple hours ago. Am I right?
Yeah, we did earlier this morning.
Right on. That's cool, man. So, so you like to do like what? Maybe training for about 8 weeks for a fight. Does Antonio have like a curriculum set where it's an 8-week training camp or a 6-week? I could ask him this, but at least for yourself, what's the plan once you find out about the fight, as far as how long of a training camp you might go into, or do you just keep doing the same thing every day, not looking at it as a training camp?
I think we have like a 8-week window. I'm not sure, but you know, sometimes you get that 2-week call, and you know, but that's why you all stay ready. But I'm pretty sure it's an 8-week camp that where we actually turn up the cardio and you know push the pace. But we want to be in shape and everything before that.
That's cool. So let me ask you this. Here's something that I think would be interesting. Your dad had a good message about being able to come up from nothing and make something of himself and be a good role model and an example. Are you wanting to kind of reiterate that message to people, or do you have a little bit of a different story, being that you're not the exact same person as your dad as far as what you want to communicate in a positive way so that people can know what Kimbo Slice Jr., Kevin Ferguson Jr. is about?
Well, my thing is just to grind hard, you know, and to push yourself, and that's all I would want to show. Just don't give up, you know, and every day you gotta work for something. So, you know, that's my thing. I guess it is the same, but it's kind of not, because we grew up. His upbringing was different than mine, but the method and the everything's the same. The grind's the same, you know.
Cool. And how about your family? And here's an interesting question. A, did your family support him fighting throughout part of his career, early, late? And then B, did they support you, and do they support you fighting?
Oh, yeah, they love it, man. Especially my brothers and sisters. They all love it. They love it when you're on TV fighting.
Nice. How many brothers do you have?
6 brothers, 7 sisters.
Nice. Now, how about this? If your brothers aren't training to be professional fighters, do some of them deep down still think they can beat you, or are they realistic?
Nah, I've been beating them up my whole life, man. Honestly, nice. I've been playing with my brothers in my whole life. But actually, one of my brothers is college now, for football. So, cool. We have a bunch of good athletes in my family, you know.
I bet. I believe it. Did your dad have to always work out and diet really strict to have that amazing conditioning he had, or do you guys have some good genetics to be looking that good?
I think it's the genetics, honestly, that for the most part, and then the hard work, just form it up, tone it up, makes it look better.
That's cool. So you guys, you guys don't have to be dieting every single day, every year. In other words.
Nah, well, I have to diet though, because I weight real quick. So
right.
I have to control.
That makes sense. Not too many crazy stuff. I heard saying like Aaron Pico. He said even at 20 years old, he said he can't have too many hamburgers and pizzas and everything like that.
Yeah,
that makes sense, man. Well, what do you want to say to your fans or anyone out there? What should we look for in your next fight? I know you're going to say we're going to see an improved Kimbo Slice Jr., but what should we be looking for that you're going to be trying to do and you're going to be trying to show in your next coming up fights or goals that you have here in these first few fights in your career?
Well, I'm always looking for the knockout. You know, that's like my first goal.
Yeah.
Taste that pop, how they react to it. Then once I see them fearing that, then I'm gonna unload. The fight goes on, then ground and pound. That's my game plan. Just get us stopped.
I like that. And you may want to keep some surprises, but you want to give us any hint about your jiu-jitsu? Not that you want to tip your whole hat, but are you to the point where you're doing good with defending really great, or are you to the point where you got some slick submissions? Or you don't have to divulge what you don't want to divulge, but maybe give us a little hint about what you're thinking might be some surprises there.
I got a couple of little tricks up my sleeve, you know.
Nice. I like
that.
But
my goal is still ground and pound no matter what. The submission is there, then it has to be there like at least 90%. Then I'll take it. If not, I'm going to ground and pound.
Cool.
Hold my position, and I'm going to dominate that position and ground and pound.
Cool. I like that. That's cool, man. I like that. Well, I like that style. Hey, so let me ask you this. I know you have something coming up. It's getting late, so we won't keep you too much longer. Love to hear the Kevin Ferguson Jr. breakdown of Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. But let me ask you one thing that other people might not even ask you to think of it. First, tell me what you think your dad would have thought about Conor McGregor against Floyd Mayweather and what he might have expected, and then tell me what you think.
I think he's a Mayweather. He would have liked Mayweather, honestly. He was a big fan of Mayweather. But I think Conor McGregor has first 4 rounds,
right?
First 3 rounds.
Yep.
That's his big chance. After that, is going to fight. So whatever he's going to do, he better do it in the first 4 rounds, first 3 rounds. And if not, Mayweather's going to take it.
Yeah, and I think your reasoning might be the same thing that our last guest said, Fernando Gonzalez, who fights over in Bellator at 170. I don't know if you know him, but he's a very nice guy and well as a great fighter. He says, yeah, because of the preparation for McGregor, he felt maybe at most 25 minutes of gas is what McGregor's going to have. And the one thing he was feeling is that Mayweather is going to have like the burden or the anger inside him to want to go after McGregor quick.
Yeah.
And if he does, then that's the only chance McGregor has. But I would think that Mayweather may realize that and may play his game. What do you think?
Yeah, Mayweather's a top fighter. He fought some of the best boxers out there right now, world. So he's going to be smart about it. He's not going to go out there and swing for the fences. You know, he's going to pick his punches, especially the first couple rounds. Because if you watch his fights, that's where he was in most danger with Shane Mosley.
Right.
All the other guys, it was the first couple rounds, like the first 2-3 rounds. After that, it was the Mayweather show. So that's what I feel like is going to happen.
Yeah.
If McGregor doesn't do anything, it has to be early in the fight.
Yeah.
If not, it's going to be a Mayweather fight.
Yeah. And you know one thing I'm wondering, do you think, because you see, if you watch McGregor fights, he usually stays at about leg distance. He doesn't even stay within punching distance a lot of times. He's jumping in kind of like a snake. Do you think he's going to try to do some crazy stuff to stay at like a weird distance? And if he does, I would think the referee would warn him. I'm thinking some of that craziness might go on. What do you think?
I mean, it all depends on what they're allowing him to do and the kind of they're allowing him to throw. But if it's like the traditional boxing punches, then I don't know. I mean, I still see Mayweather taking it no matter what. Unless they can do like an upper jab or, like those upper jabs, something like that.
So the weird uppercuts he does.
But
yeah. Do you think there's any chance of any fouling going on? One of my guests said he thinks it's going to be hard for Conor to hold back once he starts getting schooled, and that we might see some sort of a kick to the head or a kick to the legs or something. Do you think anything crazy like that would go on if Conor starts getting frustrated?
Too much money's on the line for that. He won't make a dumb mistake like that because I feel like he'll lose a lot of money. So.
Yeah, because I think there's a clause in there against that says if he does that, so but yeah, that should be interesting. But more likely a chance he's not gonna win that fight. Do you think he goes a distance or he gets stopped?
I think he would get stopped, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like Mayweather has more power than Diaz, especially in the boxing ring. So
yeah,
I think he will stop him after the 6th round, after the 6th, 7th round.
Yeah.
8th round. it'd be a stoppage. Yeah.
Yeah, you could be right.
McGregor fold up after that.
Most people are thinking that, and it seems like that very well would be the case. Only chance would be if Mayweather goes at him really quick early on. That's really pretty much McGregor's only chance. Yeah. But it should be interesting, man. Well, hey, I really want to thank you for coming on here, man. I know that your name means a lot from your dad, and I think that you're a classy young guy. You're approachable, and I hear you're very respectful to fans that meet you, and I'm really glad to know you, and I'm going to be cheering for you as I am for all of Antonio's crew over there, man. So I want to thank you so much.
Here, got AJ.
We got AJ right there. What's happening, AJ? How's it going?
Got running, man.
Yeah, you got to keep it up, man. Always appreciate seeing AJ. Always, and I know I told you, AJ, one of the most dangerous upcoming young men in the sport, and I still mean it. So we're cheering for you.
It's gonna be me beating up McGregor soon. Then I'm gonna get Floyd.
I love it. And then before that, you might go for Princess Gallagher, right? Or you don't even worry about him anymore.
He's right going down to 35. He's
man, that's right. Man, that'd be crazy. He's actually running away from that fight. That's sad, man. But anyway, man, well, I'm going to be cheering for you. Love to see you do great against it. Still TBA, still to be announced for you on 25th, or does that who do you have?
It's Blair Tugman.
Blair Tugman. All right, nice. We're going to cheer for you on that. And I have a feeling you can get through that without too much of a scratch, and then we might see you over in Dublin alongside Kimbo Slice Jr., huh?
I get another knockout. Go get another first round KO. You know me.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that's what's coming. All right, man. Hey, well, it's great to see you, AJ, and all respect, man. And you too, Kimbo Slice. Now, Kimbo Slice Jr., if people approach you, I know you're cool with Baby Slice, Kimbo Jr., Kevin, but do you have a preference if someone really wanted to come at you the way you would prefer, or are you equally as cool with all those?
Yeah, I'm cool with whatever, man. I begin all the weird names that people call me, so I'm used to it at this point.
Right. They mix it all up. But that's cool, man. I like that. You're an easygoing guy, and that's good. It's just like your dad, man. So they say chip off the old block. Easygoing, good man. Well, my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I look forward to cheering for you guys, and we'll keep in touch, man, for sure with Antonio. Thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. You're very welcome. Have a great one, Kimbo Jr. You take care, man. Keep up good work. You're welcome. Good night. All right, everyone, so that was Kimbo Slice Jr., Baby Slice Kevin Ferguson Jr. Really, really cool guy. Got a great crew. He's got a good head on his shoulders under the tutelage of Antonio McKee, so you can't beat that, man. So really, really got potential. I believe in him, and I think we got to cheer for him just like his dad. He's a nice man, a humble guy with a big smile and a great sense of humor and a good respect for this sport and for fans and for whoever he talks to, man. So definitely follow him. He deserves your support as well as AJ McKee over there. So I think we're going to wrap it up here. That is the end of this final episode. We did about a little bit over 3 hours altogether. Appreciate all your patience for all the commercials in between. When we advertise a fighter, I think only one fighter out of about 45 or 50 guests did we talk about a week before and not end up getting him. So we have a good record of people coming through. We put out something in social media and tell you someone's coming on our show. We're going to go to the end of the earth to make sure that we can do that. So I want to thank you so much for supporting. We're taking 2 weeks off. Don't forget about us, though, because we're coming back with a lot of love for our fans and for our friends and for our listeners. I think more of you guys as friends and listeners and supporters. Hit me up anytime you guys want to say anything by Facebook, and I'm always jumping on when I can to say hello. And thanks so much again. I want to thank Cross-Train MMA Fighter. Great t-shirts and caps while supplies last. We're talking about Fuji Sports. Amazing stuff there. All kinds of great gear for jiu-jitsu, for MMA training, boxing, Muay Thai. And put in the code POWERHOUR, and you get 15% off. We're also talking about Combat Press. You can see our shows stream live from there. Absolutely amazing website, combatpress.com. And then we're talking about iFluxy here, the great Dr. Adam Rorta. I'm seeing Dr. Adam Rorta here on the camera. Are they seeing you, Doctor, or only me?
They have not been seeing me, but
do you want to come on and say hello?
Might as well. You guys will be seeing and hearing from me a little bit more in the second season.
Yes.
It's all about Colin and his ability to host, but we've decided we'll bring in some more talent across the board and showcase Colin as much as possible here, because he's probably the best host ever. I want to say thank you, Colin, for this first season. It's been a very successful season. I just want to say, as the producer of the show, it's a wrap. And as Colin always says, you know what? I'm going to let him finish up here and wrap up. But from the production standpoint, it's a wrap. I'm going to go have a beer with you in the next week or two.
Awesome. That sounds great. Thank you, Dr. Adam Rorta, an amazing guy, very knowledgeable, did some wrestling in his time back in the Midwest, and really knows what he's doing. He's an Iowa boy and a really good, huge fan of mixed martial arts and combat sports, and so want to thank him. He'll be giving his opinion coming up this next season. We're going to have amazing guests and a fantastic conversation, so don't forget about us. You won't see us until August 23rd, but we'll be shouting out on social media. We'll try to go live, say hello, and just huge love and respect to all you guys supporting us. Thank you so much. It means the world to me and to Dr. Rorta and our small staff. So with that, I will say this has been Colin Crandall in the MMA Power Hour, and for now, I'm tapping out. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Hey, this is Colin Crandall from the MMA Power Hour, brought to you by iFluxy Studios. The MMA Power Hour is a show produced by fighters, coaches, and fans of our sport of mixed martial arts, so it is dedicated to anyone out there involved. We have top contenders as well as world champions. We have legends and Hall of Famers in our sport. They're talking about themselves, how they got to where they are, who they are, what they're about, what projects they're involved in, as well as predicting huge upcoming MMA fights and a lot more. Let's get ready to feel the power. MMA Power Hour brought to you by iFluxy Studios.